It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
All right, hopefully we'll get through this stream. It is right now ice, sleet, snow here in New York. It's only about like 15 degrees. We've had already a foot of snow today, and the weather has been threatening the electric, the internet, cable, everything. So look, if the stream goes down during this episode, if you don't see me back in 5 minutes, that's it. Show's over. Or you know what I'll do? I'll go on my phone and I'll just go in the comment section. I'll say, listen, guys, we're done. But I think we'll get through it. I've been preparing for tonight's show, and internet has been pretty stable so far. But I hope everyone is doing well. It is Sunday night. Was it the 25th of January, 2026? We are about 1 week away, 1 week from the Royal Rumble, and 1 week away from AJ Styles retiring. I think we all know what's going down. It's funny. When I had said about a month ago that I didn't think AJ Styles was going to make it even to the summertime, they were not going to do a whole retirement tour. They were not going to do a year-long thing. It just felt like this was something. See, because the thing is this, and listen, I'm no genius here. I prefer to look at things. Listen, I got a couple of emails from you all about Triple H's interview with Peter Rosenberg, and I did hear what Triple H said. Don't be a fucking critic all the time. Be a fan. If you hear me, every month when there's a premium live event, what do I usually say? Guys, I'm not doing a live review right afterwards because I prefer to watch it like a fan. I don't want to have to take notes. I don't want to have to overanalyze while I'm watching it. And many times I don't even stay on social media when I'm watching a pay-per-view or premium live event. Same thing. We got to pay to watch it, obviously, so it's a pay-per-view. I prefer to watch things as a fan, even though I think the way Triple H said it, is not doing him any favors. And, Peter Rosenberg, my thoughts on him. It's nothing personal, but, he obviously will, ruffle some feathers the way he does things. I still remember those fans chanting, "We want Cross." What was it, SummerSlam? You want him, you got him. And it was, you saw that. Yeah. Everybody gets mad at Triple H from that night, but it was Peter Rosenberg that made the first remark. And Triple H said, "Oh, yeah. You want him, you got," come on. But look, it just felt like, once he said that he's worried about embarrassing himself, that's a time where you feel, okay, let me get out while I can still do it at somewhat of an elite level, no pun intended. And I think for AJ Styles, we are at the 10-year anniversary. We are at the 10-year anniversary of his WWE career. It is almost to the day. And I don't know if you all saw my thumbnail for this episode, how it started and how it's ending. He started at the Royal Rumble. He will finish at the Royal Rumble. Even though he has had a storied 10-year career with WWE, and he probably had his most success in the WWE, most people will remember him more for his TNA work. He'll always seem like somebody who went from TNA to WWE. You think of Ring of Honor, you think of Bullet Club. There are so many things attached to AJ Styles that, to me, it feels like I think AJ Styles will return to the ring. No, I don't think he'll do what Ric Flair did or Victoria or anybody else, that they're going to retire and walk out, and then before you know it, they're back in the ring. I think what's going to happen is 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years down the line, AJ Styles is going to miss it as much as he does, and he'll want to have a match back. And you know what? I don't think it would be, I don't think the WWE Universe, and I don't even think WWE would be upset at it. The only way I could see WWE getting upset down the line if AJ Styles were to have another match is if he did similar to what those other people did, retire from WWE and then pop up in AEW in short order. If AJ Styles a year, 2 years from now feels like, hey, my kids are growing up a little bit, I want them to see me do a little bit more, I feel like it could still go, even if it's for a short term, even if it's only for one match, I really miss it that much. If WWE says, we're not interested, then, he could pretty much go wherever he wants. It never felt like there was going to be this huge pomp and circumstance behind it. I always felt that it was going to be something pretty abrupt. And I believe at the Royal Rumble, he's done. He's done. Now, hopefully WWE puts him in a Hall of Fame. I'd like to see him go in this year. Nothing against Saudi Arabia. But if you don't put him in this year, next year they're in Saudi Arabia. We're going to see, look, I've nothing against international countries. Nothing whatsoever. But, especially when you think about when WWE is in the United States for WrestleMania, you have indie feds all flocking to in and around WrestleMania, and they do their shows. You have conventions, not just WWE, you have others. And there is a plethora of wrestling fans that are not normally in the neighborhood or the state where WrestleMania would be. So if you listen, Las Vegas obviously is very expensive, but a lot of wrestling fans through tons and tons of countries and states still find their way to WrestleMania. Saudi Arabia, though, different element altogether. And it's not because of the Crown Prince and Khashoggi and all this other stuff. It's very, very far away. And it is much more difficult to make that trek. If you're just a regular fan wanting to see WrestleMania, let alone, you're in a totally different country, different type of rules, different, just everything about life. So just imagine if he goes in the Hall of Fame next year, AJ Styles would have had his retirement match and his Hall of Fame in a different country. I think a lot of people in the States would like to celebrate him a little bit here as well. But remember this too, and I said this last week and I'll repeat it here now. Just because AJ Styles retires doesn't mean he can't make appearances. Doesn't mean he can't show up and once in a while, hit a Styles Clash or a phenomenal forearm. This is not like he can't hit a move on someone. But, the thing is, he wants to get out while he still could go at a really top level. And Shinsuke Nakamura, and we'll get into your questions in a few moments because that's what Sunday's about. We call it the lazy show. Basically, I sit back, I answer your questions, I share your comments. Anybody that super chats is not required, but obviously it helps pay the bills, helps us grow, and you'll get to the front of the line. We'll get into everybody's in a moment. But sometimes we open up the show and get into some pertinent things. Obviously, last night was Saturday night's main event, and everything that went down is pretty much how we expected it. I think almost everyone and their mother out there knew Sami Zayn was going to be winning this. You go into Saudi Arabia, you got to put Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre, even though Sami's not winning the belt. It is still a very high-profile match for Sami. Unfortunately, over the last 12 months, 13 months, I take that back, 11 months, 11 and a half months, around that. You remember a year ago when Jey Uso won the championship and that moment, like the night after WrestleMania, right? where Sami Zayn was in the ring with Jay, and Jay climbed the turnbuckle, and Sami had this look on his face like, I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. And we all thought that for that moment he was turning. And then didn't Jimmy's music hit or somebody's music hits and spoiled it? And then like a week or two later, they did the same thing again, where we thought that, okay, this is the moment where Sami's going to turn on Jay. And then somebody's music hits, like, damn it. And then it went nowhere. And then the next thing you know, Karrion Kross feuds with Sami, Killer Kross, and the feud just went on and on and on and on. I mean, it was just too bad that WWE Unreal didn't really get into. See, WWE Unreal gets into, the big, news that have like positive outcomes. R-Truth, you're fired. No, you're hired again. Okay, so in the end, everybody's happy. Lyra Vicaria, matches change, this and that. We want to see the Travis Scott disaster. We want to see more of the bullshit that you treated towards Scarlett, and some of the stuff with Cross, get into some of the things that, show a little bit of balls that, hey, we kind of fucked up as well, but, they don't go that narrative. But, I remember one part of the Sami Zayn Cross feud. There was a backstage segment and Sami said something to Cross like, why do you keep bothering me? And I was saying to myself, my God, that's the storyline in a nutshell. It's like, why is this still going on? Even when the Wyatt Six was feuding with the Final Testament and we had that one match and then, we're not going to, maybe we'll get Cross and Bo Dallas or Uncle Howdy. Maybe we'll get this and this. And then all of a sudden, the transfer window happens, and the Wyatt Six, they spread their wings and they go over to SmackDown and, feud aborted. So Sami Zayn a year ago, WWE had ideas of possibly putting the belt on him. Remember, too, over a year ago, I have to win this. I need to win this. I do believe Sami Zayn will be a world heavyweight champion in the WWE before he retires. But it didn't happen the time frame I think they originally thought. It would have been great to see them cover that a little bit more, but there was obviously a lot that they didn't. Tomorrow, after Raw for the Don Tony show, I will get into a little bit more about WWE Unreal, my overall thoughts about it. I'll tell you this much right now. It's worth watching. It's absolutely worth watching. It's not something that you'll regret watching, but you just got to keep in mind that, I hate using this term, but like they're working to work. They're working to work, if you know what I mean. And we expected that. So Sami Zayn wins the four-way, pins Damian Priest as we expected. So now Sami goes on to Drew. Cody and Jacob Fatu, no contest. We all expected that. A lot of my friends in the podcasting world also said the same thing. You're going to have Cody lose not only back-to-back matches, but as we said last week, have him lose right before the Royal Rumble. Like, no, you don't want to do that. The Jacob Fatu Cody Rhodes smudge feels somewhat out of left field. Drew McIntyre attacking both guys afterwards was kind of the WWE's way, like, we don't want Jacob as a full-blown heel. So we need Drew to beat him up too. And we kind of like reel it in. That's pretty much what they did. Plus, I get a headache. I get a headache every time I see these same fucking people online. Cody's going to turn. This is it. He's going to turn heel. They were saying that during the John Cena feud. They were saying that a year ago. I have to take my glasses off for this. A year ago, this week, do you remember what went down right before the Royal Rumble? CM Punk and Cody Rhodes were in the ring on a Monday Night Raw, and we were convinced that either Cody Rhodes had dental surgery or he was blitzed on that fucking vodka, because CM Punk is in the ring talking about Cody, how that belt is getting to you, and it alienates you. And then Cody looks at CM Punk and is like, are you my friend Remember that? Remember that? Are you my friend? That was a year ago, this week. So a year ago, Cody's turning. That's it. He's turning. Punk, are you my friend? He sounded like, oh, we're not going to go there, but he sounded drunk. Let's just say that. I mean, for a year and a half. Now we get even worse, even worse. Oh, my sources telling me that WWE is considering still Roman and The Rock. If you follow my history show last year, and we talked about it numerous weeks, it is the annual tradition now. Back in the 80s and 90s, you'd have WWF for Thanksgiving. It's the annual tradition. Survivor Series. Now the annual tradition is, let's tease Roman and The Rock. This is 8 years now, at least 8. That either some WrestlingSchmuck.com puts it out there, or The Rock does some random interview somewhere, or Roman does some random interview somewhere, and what comes out of it is, hey, I would love to face The Rock. Yeah, I would love to face Roman. My sources tell me they're considering it. 8 years in a row, this story. Go look it up. Do a Google search. Just type in The Rock versus Roman in parentheses, and go check January 1 to December 31, 2016, 17, 18, go all the way up to 2025. Every year, we hear this. Getting a headache. These people give me a headache. Gabagool. So, Sammy, obviously going to have Saudi Arabia behind him. It'll be very emotional. He will lose. Drew McIntyre will get even more over as a heel because of it. And we're sort of doing predictions, very quickly. Very quickly. This is the only graphic that has come out so far as their match goes. But there's 4 matches. 4. Last year was 4 matches. Last year, I actually wrote it down. Last year it was the Women's Royal Rumble, the Men's Royal Rumble. You had DIY over the Modi Shitty Machine Guns, 2 falls out of 3 for the tag titles. And you had Cody Rhodes beating Kevin Owens. That's when Kevin Owens was coming out with the Winged Championship. Took it from Cody. Remember that? So last year we had 4 matches. This year we got 4 matches. And nothing else is going to be added. The only thing that'll happen is on Monday's Raw and on Friday SmackDown, they will announce some additional names for the Royal Rumble. Obviously, you got AJ Styles and Gunther. I am convinced. God bless all of you out there. They should wait till WrestleMania. Why? If Gunther is going to win the Royal Rumble, Gunther should face Brock Lesnar. Yeah, in your fantasy video game, SmackDown versus Raw, 2K38. It doesn't happen when you want it to happen. Think of The Rock versus Roman Reigns. Gunther just retired Goldberg. I know, whatever. Goldberg just retired John Cena. Big deal. Goldberg is going to retire AJ Styles. Big deal. Goldberg fighting for a world championship? Boy, would that be something if Goldberg fought CM Punk. Not only do you put your title on the line, you put your career on the line. No, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but my point is, you want Gunther to ride that crazy train as hard as you possibly can going into WrestleMania. And he's going to retire AJ Styles. Who's going to be next to stand up? Nakamura? Possible? Gunther versus Nakamura? Maybe. Probably not, because they're on different brands, unless we get the transfer window. They haven't mentioned it this year yet. But if Gunther wins the Royal Rumble, because yes, he is in the Royal Rumble, he is doing double duty. How more to get him over is to not only does he retire AJ Styles, but wins the Royal Rumble on the same fucking night. That's big ball status. And I think that is possibly going to happen. I think it is very possible. But AJ Styles is going to lose. And again, I just hope that WWE puts him in the Hall of Fame this year, not next year. And I don't want to wait 2 years. I know someone probably said that earlier, DT. Well, they could do it in 2028. Sure they can. And AJ Styles is still young enough. It's not like he's going to walk out, looking completely different, unless he's been using massive hair dye. I think you ride the momentum. He just retires at the Royal Rumble. People feel it's kind of abrupt. Announce him for the Hall of Fame. Keep that momentum going for 2 months. Then once the Hall of Fame is over, then let him go out in the sunset and make a periodic appearance once in a while. And that's it. That's what I would do. So as far as this match goes, obviously Gunther, I think, is going to take it. For the men's Royal Rumble match, they've shown graphics. But they really have not announced many names as of yet. As of this show, the only names announced is Cody Rhodes, Gunther, Jey Uso, Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, Penta, Roman Reigns, and Jacob Fatu. That's it. And if you look at this poster, it really doesn't reveal anything. Right now, we got some betting odds. I got the updated betting odds from last week. Now we have new ones that came out as of yesterday, and it's pretty interesting. Right now, the favorite to win the Royal Rumble is still Roman Reigns. 7-4 odds. Roman Reigns is still the front runner to win the Royal Rumble. I don't see Roman Reigns versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. Roman has been incognito. Roman is a part-timer. I mean, it's over a year ago. Do you remember a year ago? Remember when he was on the treadmill? I'm not a part-timer. He's doing this on the treadmill. I'm not a part-timer. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Don't blame it on Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, whatever that movie that's coming out. It's a good movie. Looks good. I'm good to see it. But Roman Reigns, he's in Paris or whatever it is, gets laid out on a stretcher, and that's it. Bye-bye. Go away. And then he leaves. And then right before Survivor Series shows up and then gets into it. Brock Lesnar, all these people, goes to Survivor Series, loses, disappears again. Like, come on, man. I'm not complaining because it gives other people opportunity, but you're going to have him fight CM Punk? And then what? He wins? I don't feel it. I don't feel it. I'll say this. I'll say this too. I don't see Cody Rhodes winning the Royal Rumble. I think Cody would get booed out of the building. Even though he's not a heel, I think Cody would get booed out of the building because I think people would be like, oh my God, same old shit. And I do not think it's right for Cody Rhodes to win the Royal Rumble. So I think right now, even though Roman Reigns is the front runner, you know who's next in line with the odds? Not Bron Breakker. Bron Breakker right now is 5-1 odds to win it. They have Sami Zayn still at 4-1 odds. 4-1. That's ridiculous. Now, obviously, he won the match yesterday. So Sami Zayn, I don't think he's, I take that back. If Gunther's going to be in the Royal Rumble match, Sami needs to be in it too, unless Gunther lays him out on a stretcher. Because how does it look if Drew McIntyre and forget Gunther. I have Gunther on the brain. Drew McIntyre. Imagine if Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn have that match and then Sami enters himself in the Royal Rumble. Gunther is entering himself in the Royal Rumble, even though AJ Styles he's gonna retire AJ Styles. So how do you, because if Sami Zayn loses to Drew, and that match is happening before the Royal Rumble match, why wouldn't Sammy enter himself in the Royal Rumble too? I mean, Gunther has already entered himself. No, you have a match with AJ Styles. I don't care. I'm in the Royal Rumble too. So why isn't Sammy entering himself in the Royal Rumble? Why aren't you proclaiming yourself in the Royal Rumble? Well, I'm going to beat Drew, and I'm going to be World Heavyweight Champion. So, go Roman Reigns territory. You win against Drew? It's not happening, but you enter the Royal Rumble, and then you challenge CM Punk. Title for title. No. Drew McIntyre would have to put him on a stretcher, beat the balls out of Sami Zayn to the point where he's got to be stretchered out. And then he'll be driven to a local medical facility in Saudi Arabia. So Gunther is next in line with 2-1 odds. Roman Reigns is the favorite 7-4. Gunther's at 2-1. Braun is at 5-1. LA Knight is at 6-1. I don't know who the fuck came up with that. LA Knight, listen, obviously I'm huge on LA Knight, big fan. Loved covering this stuff to close out last year's history season with him getting the key to his city, and now he just donated $20,000 to his hometown. But he ain't winning that Royal Rumble. That's very nice odds. If I'm LA Knight, I'm mad at that because he knows he ain't fucking got no shot from winning it, and they gave him pretty damn good odds. So. But anyway, so I'm going with Gunther. As of right now, I mean, maybe I change my mind by tomorrow night, but I'm giving everybody here a little sneak preview of tomorrow's predictions. I'm going with Gunther to win it. And then we got the Women's Royal Rumble match. And if you're thinking the way I'm thinking, there's one person that needs to win it, and that's Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan is getting monster pops. Rhea Ripley is busy with Iyo Sky and tag team championships. It was good timing to put the tag titles on Rio because now it keeps them away from the Women's World Championship picture. You could tease Liv Morgan with Jade Cargill, but I'm still convinced Raquel Rodriguez is beating Stephanie Vaquer for that women's championship. Listen, there's a reason why I have her picture behind me, because I'm a fan, and it's a little tribute, pay a little respect. But I think now, if you're going to take the title off of her, this is the perfect reason to do so. Raquel Rodriguez could re-injure her ankle in a match, and Raquel Rodriguez wins the belt. And then, after she wins, Liv Morgan, she's already the Royal Rumble winner. And it would be good if we got an impromptu match tomorrow. I don't think it's going to happen with Stephanie Vaquer and Raquel tomorrow, but you get, even after the Royal Rumble, Raquel suddenly becomes the champion. Now it changes the dynamic. You could even play off, if you want to go one step further, you could play off that Liv Morgan is going to tease challenging Stephanie Vaquer or Jade Cargill, and then Raquel wins the belt. And then all of a sudden, things change, and Raquel's like, well, I guess you're going to fight Jade at WrestleMania, Liv. And then Liv is like, well, maybe we'll fight. Hey, Raquel, look at it like this. We guarantee the women's championship remains in the Judgment Day. Chef's kiss. I hate using that term, but I see a lot of you using it. It's the perfect way to do it. Liv Morgan could convince Raquel, we guarantee the women's championship remains in the Judgment Day. And I think that's how they do it. I'm going with Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan right now is the front runner with 5-6 odds. Big time favorite. Next in line, Rhea Ripley at 3-1, Tiffany Stratton at 7-1, Charlotte at 12-1. Iyo Sky. I don't like Iyo and Rhea with great odds. I mean, you got to put them up there because of their status. Even though we know Rhea Ripley ain't winning, you don't put her at 60 to 1 odds, or 100 to 1 odds. And you can't say, well, that's because she's a champion. No, that's not really how it works. But, yeah, I think Liv Morgan, I think most of us believe Liv Morgan will win it. So I'm going with Liv Morgan. I'm going with Liv Morgan to win the Royal Rumble. And again, I do believe that, we will see a title change. And boy, that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how the storyline shifts from Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquera, Jade Cargill, to Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Be fun. Be fun. Then you can even go one step further. Who is Roxanne going to help? Roxanne is torn. She's out at ringside, and she's like, doesn't know who to root for. Doesn't it kind of like all fit into place? I kind of like it. Bianca Belair is on that list too, but haven't heard anything. The hand injury is crazy. It's not on the level of Buddy Matthews with his ankle, but, you would think, with the hand, all right, you re-break it, you set it again, you got to put a pin, oh fucking well. You'll have to have a special card on you when you go through metal detectors, but, the fact that it's taken this long for a hand injury is crazy, but it does happen. Hopefully she's close to a return. Hopefully she is. If she's in the Royal Rumble, no. That's the worst thing you could do to Bianca Belair. First of all, we've already discussed for a couple of years now, and listen, I say what I mean what I say. I've been public with all of you for 28 years now. 29 years. This is my 29th year doing this shit. Started the Wrestling Hotline in 1997. By now, everybody knows that I have no malicious, feelings towards any nationality or any sexual orientation or any gender. I treat everybody the same. I used to be a dick towards everybody, but now I try to be fair, but I just tell it like I feel it. And, not everybody likes what I have to say, but usually people say like, damn, I can't stand anything you just said right now, but you know what? I respect it because, you gave a respectful reason why. Bianca Belair started getting booed the last couple of years because she started to get that stigma that Charlotte Flair had. Out, come in, title opportunity, title. Out, come in, title opportunity, out, come in, title opportunity. And I know I'm really generalizing it, but that's what happened. And people started to get annoyed at it. And the most telltale sign was the fans fell in love with Iyo Sky. They loved Iyo Sky before last year's Mania. But they really fell in love with Iyo Sky last year's Mania. And when you started hearing about, Bianca, fans were not happy. They were not happy. And sorry. This isn't a black thing. I know it's very convenient for people online to go, why is Bianca Belair always getting booed outside the United States? You got racist countries everywhere. I already played clips of Bianca Belair getting cheered in the last couple of years overseas. When she was in, I think it was Saudi Arabia with Jade Cargill. I think it was, who was it? It was Jakara Jackson and Last Legend were in the match too. It was a 3-way tag match. And they weren't getting booed. People boo Bianca because they felt she's being handed and other people are working every single week. And it's not Bianca's fault that she got hurt. It's not Bianca's fault. I think Bianca Belair is top 3 in the women's division. I absolutely am a big fan. But to turn around and it's because she's black. I fucking cringe when I get mad when I hear that. And I know some people are going to say, DT, you're a white Italian guy. Like your comments don't matter. Fine. But I'm not going to change my opinion because of it. And I'm not going to hold back from saying it. If Bianca Belair won this Royal Rumble, people will be happy. Then they'll get mad. And you want a good example? even though one has nothing to do with the, I'll give you a good example. Do you remember the night when The Rock showed up on SmackDown, hugged Cody Rhodes, and then Cody walked off, and then you had the weirdos on social media in the podcasting and news world, The Rock, he's sabotaging Cody Rhodes. He's on the board of directors. He's doing this for himself. Like he's some steroid up whack job. And Ari Emanuel and Nick Khan and everybody else is like, go ahead, Rock, do whatever you want. You want to pull down Cody's pants? Go right ahead. Do whatever you want. Sabotage a year and a half of Cody's run. You crazy? Kevin and I called it 5 days before it happened. Hashtag we want Cody. The proof is there. God rest Kev's soul. We predicted it. It was easy to figure out. It was the Daniel Bryan and Yes movement all over again. But what's my point? Go back and watch the crowd reaction when The Rock came out, hugged Cody, and then stared at Roman Reigns, kind of challenging him for Mania. The live crowd lost their shit. There was no boos. There was no Cody chants. There was no, heel heat to The Rock. They lost their fucking minds when Rock came out there. You go on social media, totally different story. What the fuck? Rock just comes in a year and a half. And WWE saw it and ran with it. And then 3 days later, like somebody who's bipolar, 3 days later, WWE and The Rock, like, remember that when he wore that funky shirt? He's like, I heard the WWE Universe and I decided, they weren't happy with this decision. So get the fuck out of here. You don't take the whole Dusty storyline for a year and a half and flushed it down the toilet because The Rock, that was all manufactured. And you know why people were angry with Kevin and I at that time? Because we were the only people that were saying it, only people out there saying it. And when it started to come together that, yeah, we predicted we want Cody and everything else, people got angry at us because I realized that people in 2025, last year, 2025, this day and age, too many people are so afraid to admit when they're wrong or admit they were played or admit they were worked. God forbid, you just turn around and say, hey, listen, they totally fooled me. You know what? I'm loving it. No. It's impossible. Just like the Trey Miguel stuff lately. It's impossible. And Warner Brothers discovered they did not do that. It was all Tony Khan. Nobody knows 100%. All I know is that when you see Trey Miguel and his friends are all liking comments that are in the direction that Warner Brothers Discovery decided they were going to pull a Briscoe and fucking say, nah. We saw what you said, LGBTQ. No. They don't care that David Starr is defending him. They don't care that LGBTQ wrestlers are sticking up for Trey Miguel now. They don't care. They just saw that. No. See, I said something the other day that I just said it in passing. And I was shocked at the response that I got. I was shocked at the feedback. And I'm going to say something now that no one has said. No one has said the last week. If Jay Briscoe never died, Mark Briscoe would not have been on AEW television. I know that sounds horrible and cold, but the person that sparked Warner Brothers Discovery to do that radical decision died. Now all of a sudden it's like, look, he's gone. That's it. It's almost like here, you want a good example? Pete Rose. Now that Pete Rose is dead, now we'll start considering him for the Hall of Fame for baseball. That's pretty much what happened. If Jay Briscoe never died, more than likely, Mark Briscoe would not have been brought in on AEW television. Period. People don't like to hear that, but that is true. And what happened with Trey Miguel, in 2019, nobody gave a shit. We covered it. Other people covered it too. In 2020, people didn't give a shit. Because Trey Miguel at that time, no big deal. He was winning titles in TNA. Nobody said a thing. He went to NXT for the MSK storyline, and nobody said a thing. Now he goes with the Rascals to AEW, and because nobody said anything in 2019, nobody said anything in 2020, 2021, 2, 3, 4, and 5, what AEW figured everything's cool in the gang. Trey Miguel, beloved by majority of everybody in wrestling. Then Warner Brothers Discovery gets a hold of it, and they do a little bit of searching. Because remember, my friends, when the Rascals got signed and we found out the Wednesday before, you didn't see anybody playing like the girlfriend of Apollo Crews. No, not Apollo Crews. Odyssey Jones. You didn't see anyone playing the role of Odyssey Jones's ex-girlfriend going online, hashtag at Warner Brothers Discovery. I think you need to see this history about Trey Miguel. I think you need to see the history of Zach Wentz. See, Zach Wentz shaving his mustache down, awful. But if we're also being a little bit honest out there, it seems like people, when it comes to certain religions out there and certain countries, just think of what happened with Priscilla Kelly, like everybody in the country is evil. Priscilla Kelly got death threats chased off the net because she was going to work Israel. Honestly, my friends, I defended her 100%, and I'll say this because I tell it like it is. She came off as an airhead. How the fuck in 2026 or even 2025 do you not know what is going on with Israel and Palestine? When she posted, look, everybody, I'm going to Israel. People like, what? She can't. I think many people got mad at her because, like, what do you like? Do you know what's going on? But people made it worse because they tried to play it off that the promoter and wrestling fans in Israel are somehow the government. And if you don't want people to, you look at Minnesota and a Somali fraud, billions of dollars of fraud. Does that mean that every Somali that came from Somalia that lives in Minnesota were all committing fraud? No. You had, tens of thousands that came in, and you hear about 100, 150? Should you take it out on every Somali because a bunch of people committed fraud? No, you don't do that. Just like you shouldn't treat every illegal immigrant the same because of some predators and deviants and, felons. So don't treat everybody in Israel like they're part of the government because the government, in many people's eyes, are doing some evil atrocities. So my point is, the Zach Wentz thing, a little bit different, especially when MJF, who is Jewish, is the first person to come front and center to stick up for Zach Wentz at that time. So the Zach Wentz situation, drop in a bucket, no big deal. Sammy Guevara, Sasha Banks, that's years ago. Drop in the bucket, grew up, said something dumb, did not really mean it. Fine, forgiven. He should be forgiven. Justin Roberts, the controversy around him, forgiven. But for some reason, when it comes to homosexuality and Warner Brothers Discovery, it's too far. Case in point, Jay Briscoe, now Trey Miguel. Other things, they'll let it slide. But this is now 2 times that's happened. And it's unfair to both. I'm not going to get into religion here, but if Jay Briscoe at the time, God rest his soul, is, Catholic and he believes in certain, things, that doesn't mean he hates others. And Trey Miguel did the dumbest thing that many of us were guilty of doing decades ago. I've brought it up and I have said it myself. When I went to clubs in the 90s, in the 1990s, and I would see Jersey Shore Reject or Cardboard Gangster. Cardboard Gangster is someone that is like a greaseball Italian that's trying to act like he's in the mafia, but he's not in the mafia. He's just some Italian guy, Guido, trying to act like he's got connections because he wants to impress a girl or get laid. You got Jersey Shore Rejects all in the clubs wearing the wife beater T-shirts and all the jewelry pumped up on Dracar cologne, the hair greased back and everything, just listening to the music. And then, you just want to dance with your girlfriend, and then they get in front and they're just, grinding and jacking. If anybody remembers jacking back in the 80s. So how do you piss off a Jersey Shore womanizer in a club that's trying to impress all the ladies? Well, you question their masculinity. That's unfortunately what many people used to do, and that's what Trey Miguel did. I'm not justifying it. What he did was wrong. You learn from it. You grow from it. You understand that, you're questioning someone's masculinity. See, like me. Right now, if you want to possibly hurt my feelings, call me fat. Call me fat. But it doesn't really bother me anymore because I'm still down 80 pounds from 10 years ago. But my point is, you see someone and you try to find, how am I going to piss off that person the most? What can I do? For some YouTubers, you question their legitimacy of their numbers. Some people who are like Jersey Shore, you question their masculinity. When Trey Miguel did what he did, he questioned sexuality. Oh, look at you, you're ugly. So you have to be homosexual because that's the only way you're going to score. That's what he did. It's fucked up. It's wrong. He made a big mistake. And Warner Brothers Discovery feels 7 years later that he should still be paying for that mistake. And that's terrible because you can't put your finger on who's the one that did it. Tony Khan, big, close relationship with Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers Discovery says jump, and Tony says how high. They're respectful towards each other, but Tony Khan needs Warner Brothers Discovery more than Warner Brothers Discovery needs Tony Khan. And when Warner Brothers Discovery steps up and says, no, we don't want this person on our network, you can't simply say, oh, what about Ring of Honor? You can't do that. You can't do that. And unfortunately, that's what happened. And most people in and around Trey Miguel's inner circle, and you could see it with their tweets, everybody's being respectful. Those who know Trey Miguel are not just flat out saying, like, I know it's this, and this. But when other people are finding out about it and they're liking it or retweeting it, that's their way of saying, look, I can't say anything. I can't speak out. But if you want to speak out, fine, go right ahead. You don't see anybody dispelling it. But as I was saying before about the Bianca Belair stuff, there are people out there that are convinced that Trey Miguel got let go because he dated MJF's wife. Yeah, there's some people in pretty powerful media, powerful voices saying that still. Whatever. You got people out there that are convinced Tony Khan did not do his diligence and did not know about the Trey Miguel stuff and now said, no, we can't have that. And people want to stick with that. Go right ahead. There's the truth. There's the truth. They say there's this side, and somewhere in the middle. But Trey Miguel situation, fucked up. Very fucked up. So, all right. I think we got to move on because I rambled a little bit too long. So anyway, the bottom line is Liv Morgan, she's winning. She's winning that Royal Rumble. And we'll see where it goes from there. But remember, we gotta. Oh, and by the way, if anybody's gonna ask, Lara Vicaria, Bayley, Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Chelsea Green, Jordan Gray, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax, Last Legend, and Julia, and Asuka, if I didn't mention her name. They're all in the Women's Royal Rumble as of right now. So, okay. I wanted to mention this. Shout out to Guardian of Chaos. He is a good friend of the family. He also moderates here along with OTS Tribal Queen and Austin Nance, and we're going to be adding someone additional in it very soon. He did a podcast. He was interviewed by Joe Bruin, Bruen. On the replay of this episode, got to timestamp it, 50 minutes. When I go like this, you'll see the link pop up. Go check it out. It is the All Access Podcast, and that's spelled with 2 X's. All Access Podcast with Joe Bruin, interviewed Big Daddy, Guardian of Chaos. So just shout out to him. Shout out to all of you. So, all right, let's get into some of your questions, and we will go from there. Let me hit up a couple of super shout outs. This is from Tommy D. Thank you for the 5 spot, Tommy. Much love. Did I watch any of Alex Honnold's free solo climb of the Taipei 101 building? Seth Rollins was rattled covering the climb. I don't know if you guys saw it. I did not watch it. I saw a couple of clips on Twitter, and that's enough for me. I have a fear of heights. I have told the stories in the past. I mean, I'm not as nervous as I used to be, but there was a couple of times where I was driving, going to Mohegan Sun in Connecticut early on. This is like 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I would go over like a really high bridge, and I would like start getting cold sweats, and I couldn't look to the left or the right. I had to just like this. I have a little bit of a fear of heights. When I went to Florida for my honeymoon and our 1-year anniversary, my doctor prescribed me Valiums for the plane ride there and the plane ride back, so I would be relaxed. I did not watch it. I did mention on the, I think it was Wednesday Night Dynamite, that Seth Rollins would be doing the color on that. I don't like to watch people climbing buildings and mountains and tight ropes and all that shit. Ever since what happened with Carl Walenda, I think it is, he had the famous Walendas. That guy was like in his 70s, and he walked the tightrope, I think in Puerto Rico, I think it was, back in like 79 or 80. And I didn't watch it at the time, but I watched it years later, and sure enough, he started losing his balance on live TV, went down. Very lucky it happened in 1980 and not 2018, because you would have camera angles, you'd have fucking slow-mos, super slow-mos, you'd have iPhones, all different areas of footage. It would have been like watching Sid Vicious breaking his leg on Nitro all over again. Remember when that happened? Nitro did like 9 replays. Slow-mo. You can almost hear the bone breaking when Sid went down. Ever since I saw that, it's like, nah, man. This guy that climbed this, I mean, that takes incredible balls. And to be standing up there and like looking down and waving and only doing one arm. I mean, I don't wish nothing bad, but I think most of us think sooner or later that motherfucker is going to kill himself doing this. Hate to say it, but he's gonna fall off something. What you got to understand, and this is, I didn't watch it yesterday, but when I saw the little clip of him climbing like some of the building, all I kept saying to myself was, there's no way they cleaned 1,100 feet or whatever it was of the building before he climbed it. There's got to be birds that go by and take shits. There's got to be seagulls and, ducks or whatever. There's got to be birds that fly by and take shits. There's got to be, planes that go by, and let's be honest, in some of those countries, they're not the most sanitary, and you're flying in the air and like, we're overloaded in the fucking toilet. We got to let some of this waste, it's like there's got to be at some point you're going to climb a building and there's going to be like oil. There's going to be bird shit. There's going to be something and you're going to grab it and you'll be like, oh shit. And that's it. Don't tell me, oh, well, he's got powder and he's got grips and he's got this. Sooner or later, that guy's going to fall. And you commend that kind of balls. But if you have that much courage, go save lives. You know what I mean? Like go be a firefighter or something like that. Go climb a building in 3 stories and rescue people. Climb 100 floors. For what? For what? Like, okay, look, I could walk across the middle of a highway with my eyes closed. Look, everybody, I just crossed. Like, people will be like, oh, man, that's awesome. Wow, you passed it. And some people are like, what are you, stupid? For what? For what? I wouldn't even do that for ass. I wouldn't even do that for ass, even if I could climb it. Even if I, piece of cake, even if I cheated and I somehow had suction cups in my hands or I had, my skin, I had like grip, attached to my skin and I cheated. Like there's nothing. Not even for $1 million. Why? What's the purpose? Like for what? I don't get it. Talk about like pointless, like that's inspirational. Ooh, if I could climb it, you could climb it. How's it inspirational? It's stupid. It's stupid. Tell me one legit. If you're going to say, well, he's raised money for charity. I'm sure I could raise money for charity if I decide I'm going to, I don't know. What could I do? Yeah, we got this microphone sanitizer. If I drink this, let's see how much money I could raise for charity, and I'll drink this. Here, look, for $1,000 super chat, I'll drink this entire quart of whiteboard cleaner. For what? Brooklyn Pete, thoughts on TNA bringing back Trey Miguel? And do I believe the AEW firing was a Tony Khan call or Warner Brothers Discovery call? Oh, I just explained it, but in the end, it was Warner Brothers Discovery telling Tony Khan, no. And that's pretty much it. I expect someone to interview Tony Khan very, very soon. And Tony Khan will say, I can't comment on it. But tune into Dynamite this Wednesday. I think he'll say something very, very, he'll say something complimentary to Trey Miguel, but he'll say, unfortunately, I can't comment about the situation. Do I think there was an NDA? No, I don't think there was an NDA. I get it. Tony Khan does a lot of NDAs because he doesn't want bad things to be said about him. When you're a billionaire, you could do that. Right, Vince? You could do that. When you're a billionaire, and you don't want bad things coming out about you, you just give checks out, shut people up. That's what happens. Let's bring it down to our levels. I say something about, I don't know, Michael Gonzalez, who's live right now. If I say something incredibly racist and awful about you or your Mexican mother or something like, and he's not Mexican, but my point is, I say all these DMs to him, and he screenshots everything. He's like, DT, you're fucked, man. I'm going to show everybody what you said about my mother, who's dying. How dare you say something like that? And I say, Michael, I'm sorry. Listen, if I give you $100, can we let this go? And Michael probably say, sure, send me $100. PayPal it to me right now, you fat fuck. I give him $100, and what's different? What's different? It's just NDAs. Like, Warner Brothers Discovery don't care about an NDA. What's the NDA going to say? We saw the horrible post and we don't want someone like that representing our network. We don't want someone like that on our network. Why does it have to be hidden? NDA for what? You think Trey Miguel is going to open his mouth and say to Joe Schmuck that works in Warner Brothers Discovery who made the call? Like, no, some people don't fucking rat out every little thing because they're professionals. You keep things off of social media, and Trey Miguel keeps it quiet. All the members of the Rascals all came to his defense, and I heard from a couple of people that, hey, listen, if you're not coming in, we're not coming in either. And Trey Miguel's like, don't do that. You got families, you got your careers. They know, they care about him. Trey Miguel, unfortunately, he came across a company that will not forgive and forget. But I will say this, it'd be pretty goddamn funny if he gets that fired briefcase this Thursday. If he gets that fired briefcase on this Thursday, that is fucking funny. But I don't think TNA would do something like that. I don't think they would. I think TNA, especially with WWE, sort of involved. They want to come off looking like the good guys in this. You have Trey Miguel open that fired briefcase. I mean, that's comical. That is comical. So, and you know what? Look, I'll throw this one out because I see Feast of Fired. Tommy D says, my Feast of Fired predictions. He thinks Steve Maclin gets fired and goes to AEW to work with his wife. His wife is Deonna Purrazzo, by the way, everybody. As far as the Feast of Fireds, you know what's funny? I was looking at the ages Thursday night after Impact went off the... Well, I did Patreon first, then I watched Impact. Steve Maclin, Eddie Edwards, and Eric Young, they're almost, if not 40 to like 45 years old. Steve Maclin, Eddie Edwards, and Eric Young are between 40 and 45 years old. Maybe even older than that. Trey Miguel is the only one on that list that is like 30. So I seriously doubt you're going to have Trey Miguel get fired, to be honest with you. Personally, I think Steve Maclin is going to get a World Heavyweight Championship opportunity. I think Eddie Edwards is going to get a tag team title opportunity because he is the leader of the system. So he has plenty of people that he could choose as a tag partner. I think that leaves Trey Miguel to get the X Division shot because I think Trey Miguel and Leon Slater would kick ass. And I think Eric Young gets the briefcase, the fired. And then maybe Eric Young, because he stole the common man, whatever that fucking guy is, he took his mask. He could come back as the common man, or whatever that dumb shit is. So I go with Eric Young to get fired. Maybe he just works in the back. Eric Young's the oldest one out of all of them. That's it. Get fired, man. The hometown man. Thank you very much, Chris. I know it was something like that. The hometown man. I always think of the question mark. When I see the hometown man. Remember the question mark in NWA who died? Awful story, man. But those are my picks. Steve Joseph, my thoughts on Minnesota. I'll say this. I'll keep this as simple as I can. I've watched drug dealers that live in Minnesota go on social media and say, I'm carrying, but I'm making sure I'm not anywhere near fucking law enforcement or ICE or anything else. If I get pulled over from the cops, all right, the last thing I'm going to have is a gun on me. All right. My opinion is this. The reason why shit is out of control in Minnesota is because the government in Minnesota despises Trump's government. And they don't want ICE to remove anybody. The idea that people are sticking up for, sexual predators, child molesters, and all this other stuff, that they're actually taking that side is just bizarre in itself. I'll say this. Over the years on my shows, I said there have been cops that unfortunately should not be cops because the best way I can describe it is this way. I think I know the difference between me getting my ass kicked and my life being in jeopardy. And I've seen enough examples over the years where a cop is getting his ass kicked and goes for his gun and does what he does. If someone goes for a gun or has a gun on them, you're not going to sit and wait for them to take it out to like, oh, you go first. This is not like somebody who's drunk and is like, come on, hit me. Give me a reason to kick your ass. Come on, you throw the first shot. If you're law enforcement and someone is physically fighting with you or resisting you or committing a crime, and then that person has a piece on them and you can't get their arms restrained and you think that they're going for it, you're not going to take a chance. And they do what they do. The problem is some cops jump the gun too quickly. All right, I've seen cops who got their ass kicked. Instead of just going home, putting ice on and say, yeah, we arrested this guy today. Yeah, he fucked me up really good. But his life was never in jeopardy. Some people, they think the minute they start getting hit, oh, my life is in jeopardy. Not trying to be a jerk. Look at Tony Khan. Tony Khan, he thought his life was in jeopardy from CM Punk. Tony, just look at the backstage thing. He goes to Jungle Boy and CM Punk turned around. This is a joke. Just imagine if Tony Khan was a police officer. Are you going to go, boo? Here, take my gun. He runs away like Benny Hill. I'm not trying to be funny about it. My point is this. Just because you hate the cops, just because you hate Trump, just because you hate ICE, just because you hate investigators, doesn't mean that you have the right to obstruct, the right to do what some people are doing. You don't have the right to throw anything at someone. You don't have the right to block a street. You don't have the right. If a cop gives you a lawful order, get out of the car. I said this last week. I could have a cop have my wife cheat on me with a cop, and then the cop pulls me over, and he walks up to me, license and registration, and meanwhile he's showing me his phone. Like, give me a license and registration. And while he's doing it, he's showing me of his phone, and there's a screenshot of him sleeping with my wife. I can't turn around and say, you motherfucker, go fuck yourself. Get out of the car. That's a lawful order. I could turn around and have every reason to hate that person. If he gives me a lawful order to get out of the car, turn the car off, don't leave, you're detained, you have to listen. There's no middle ground. This is not sovereign citizen shit. And when you see, and listen, if a cop turns around and is telling people, get off the street, cops are walking by, they're trying to do something, and people jump in front of you, you push them aside. And it happens to be a woman. It happens to be an elderly person. How dare you do that? It's fucked up. But that doesn't give you the right to put the law in your own hands. So unfortunately, you have people out there that have this mindset that because they hate Trump and hate ICE so much that they could put the law in their own hands. And the problem is people are finding out that you can't. You're either going to get killed, you're going to end up ruining your life, and the only chance of you being forgiven is if the people that are telling you that it's okay to do it somehow become president and pardon you one day. You got to vote these people out of office. If people out there truly want to stop this with ICE or whatever else, then obviously the Senate and the House need to change their majority. But the thing is, just because what happened with that woman is awful, because I don't think that guy got hit. That guy got hit. And she already drove by. He could have broke his arm. He could have gotten internal bleeding, could have got a black eye, could have fucking, got his foot run over. He could have broke all his toes. He could have fractured his ribs. But the minute she drove by and, wow, this hurts, but I'm alive. I'm alive. If she stopped and put it in reverse, then you fire away. But she's already past him. And she clipped him. No question about it. They should have chased her, spike strips, pit, and then throw her in jail for 2-3 years. But the minute she clipped him and she drove by and he was not about to die, you don't take out your piece and go off like he did. That's my honest opinion. My opinion, anybody who committed atrocities like that from a different country need to go. Anybody that aids in the beds, yeah, you're going to get in trouble for it. Just because you got 100,000 people rooting you on, do the right thing, yeah. I think in the movie Death Wish, I think back in the 80s, no, that's not David Berkowitz, Bernard Getz. Go look, if anybody that doesn't know that story, look up Bernard Getz. A lot of people were calling him a hero for what he was doing. No, he went to jail. The movie Death Wish with Charles Bronson, a lot of people thought it was a movie, but the point is, just because you got people cheering you on doesn't make it legal, doesn't make it right. It's fucked up what's going on. It's bizarre because, and listen, I've said this 1,000 times already. I think people who have been in this country illegally, that came in a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, if they did not commit any crimes outside the country and they have not been in any trouble inside the country, give them temporary visitor status for 5 years. Give them an ID, let them pay taxes like everybody else. They're getting benefits already, so they might as well pay for some things. And then 5 years from now, it comes up for review. And if you do not answer the review, then that's it. You got no more privilege. If you have the review and you're keeping out of trouble and you're just working to raise your family, you're working for yourself, you whatever. You stay out of trouble, good. It's renewed for 5 more years. I would put everybody on the books, give everybody that opportunity. But the ones who are the real bad of the bad, those are the ones that should go. Anybody that aids and abets them should get into trouble as well. Sorry. If I know someone who did terrible things and his warrant's out for that person's arrest, if I let him sleep in my house and the cops come in, oh, I had no idea he was here. I had no idea. No, I'm going to jail too. Thank you very much. Todd Pelkey says, keep up the good work, DT. I appreciate it. Thank you for the $9.99, my friend. Much love. I thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Michael Williams, the WWE creative team, comes off as complete goofballs. Road Dogg couldn't even explain his ideas. I did take notice of everybody that was like, oh, look at that creative room in Unreal. It's all old white men. There's obviously some others that are not in the room that are agents, not making it any better. But the thing is this, there's an old saying, if it's not broken, you don't fix it. Yeah, there's a shitload of WWE that we don't particularly like. I did see that video that Peter Rosenberg put out there calling out Brian Alvarez and, saying the things about others. And I see the criticism Triple H pulls and everything. But the thing is, if you are a paying customer, you have every right to complain. Whether you want to write a full page review, it's just like, put it this way, Hunter, Paul, Road Dogg, Rosenberg, Alvarez, Meltzer, Russo, Rousset, anybody out there, you, me, Left Twix, Cloudy, Scorpion, Xander Elion, Big Birds, Cloudy, all of us, everybody listening. If you're allowed to go on Yelp or Google Reviews or Amazon and verified purchase, if you bought this coldest drink, water bottle, and I turn around and I write, man keeps my water cold. That's it. That's all I write. If I turn around and say, guys, I don't even have it a week, and look, it's already dented. I mean, I know I hit my wife over the head with it, but it shouldn't have dented like that. People will be like, all right, it's a little bit much. If I turn around and I decide I want to write a 5-page analysis saying, I checked the temperature at 18 hours, and at 20 hours and 23 hours. And what I found, it was very fascinating. This again, and I write this entire thing. Or if I write why it sucks and I do a page long, that's my right. I purchased it. Whether I do it in 10 words or 10 pages, that's my right. And anybody out there in wrestling that has a problem with it, oh fucking well. I could go to a diner and say the hamburgers are awesome. And Cloudy could go to the same diner and say that the hamburgers suck. And then Mike could go to the same diner and give us a 5-page explanation analyzing the beef and why it should be this, it should be that. We all have the same right. We are paying customers. We have every right to say it however we want. Just like JD from New York, just like Russo, Meltzer, Cornette, Coach, whoever it is. You know, if they have every right to criticize, then you have every right to criticize them and me. You know, we all have the same right. The reason why Peter Rosenberg got extra angry at Brian Alvarez is because Brian Alvarez, whether you like it, guys, or not, has a gigantic following. People get extra angry at JD from New York because he has a gigantic following. People get angry at, usually people in wrestling, you'll notice something, and I've brought this up in the past. They'll go after the biggest followers, the people who have the biggest following, and the people who have the least followers. You'll see people in wrestling that'll go after JD, for example. 100-something thousand, 150,000, 200,000 followers. They'll go after him because his voice is powerful. But you'll also see them go after Joe Schmuck with 9 followers. Why? Because they know that that person has no backup. You remember about 10 years ago, we used to call out a lot of people in wrestling that would single out, this person said this terrible, disgusting thing about blah, 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 blah. And you're like, why are you paying attention? The person has 3 followers. And you realize that, and then the whole wrestling world will get behind that person. Keep your chin up. Keep your chin up. We know who you truly are. Don't listen to that noise. The guy's got 3 followers. Why are you giving him that much attention? Because you're using that to prop yourself up and because you want a whole bunch of pats on the back. Wrestling does that. They go after the biggest of the big and the littlest of the little. The people in the middle, they kind of try to ignore, hoping that their voice doesn't get out to the masses. That's what they do. They go after the tiny because they know there's no comeback. They go after the biggest ones because they have big influence. They stay away from the people in the middle because in the middle, it's kind of like purgatory. We know that some people listen, but it's not headlines. But they also have enough people to give me a fucking aneurysm, if I fight them, So that's how it happens. The creative team will definitely need to be spiced up. Let's see if we get a season of Unreal where they have some meetings with the creative people. Sorry, Road Dogg, you got to go. Blah, 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 blah. I think Road Dogg does a good job. He's not like the be-all, end-all. I mean, the thing also, when people are like, there's no women. Well, Sunshine, tell me some women that should be in that creative team. Tell me. You have Molly Holly that was helping a lot of the women. You've had others in the past. Just because they're not in the writing room doesn't necessarily mean that they're not influencing and helping. I mean, I'm just using her as an example, but I'm saying when people are like, there should be black in the creative room. Well, tell me who. Give me an example. Name somebody. And don't just go on Wiki or AI and say, Gemini, give me a list of all the black talents over the age of 40 that are not currently working in WWE, AEW, or TNA. And then you're like, oh, yeah. No, you don't do that. Name someone. If you're going to say, we don't have this, we don't have this, we don't have that, tell me who should be in those spots. Then I'll comment about it. That's how I look at it. You know, it sucks. It sucks that that creative team is a bunch of older white men. But that's what it is. Tell me who should be in those seats. And then we will comment about it. Few people are asking my thoughts on the hug. Iyo Sky, the hug, the Triple H. I will tell you in a minute. Michael Williams, thank you for the $4.99, my friend. Referring to Unreal in his previous Super. To add to it, do I think WWE makes significant creative changes this year? No, I don't. Why? Why would you? You know, their ratings for the whole year have been pretty consistent. It's down. And, you know, listen, with all due respect, I love how Meltzer and Keller and WrestleNomics and all these others keep making a big deal about Nielsen getting the new system. I would love to have any of them on one day. Friendly. I have no personal animosity. I fucking give money to some of the people. And I don't do that because I feel good and I have it like I do it because I do support them. But that doesn't mean I can't disagree sometimes. But I would love to have a friendly conversation and not just tweet exchanges. I mean, I already won the argument with Dave Meltzer about the Netflix and how they come up with the viewership hours. If you saw the year end and the global views, they literally put the paragraph. Did you guys see that? When they put up like the premium live events for the whole year and who watched what? And they actually wrote at the end of it how they come up with those numbers. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I argued with Dave Meltzer about. My niece works for an advertising firm that dealt with Netflix. And she says, this is how they do it. You don't add the commercial time to the viewership time. That doesn't help. You know, oh, because Snickers has 9 commercials, I want to put my car shield on there as well. Doesn't make any sense. So my point is this. All of those places that are like, SmackDown is down 40% from last year because it's the new system is we have to include smart TVs. We have to include those platforms. That's been like that for years. Just, they never switched over. So now you're getting the truth. It's like me going on the same scale for 9 years. And I know that the scale is broken. I know that I'm probably 20 pounds fatter than what the scale says. But I go to Wade Keller methodology. I'll just keep standing on the old scale because it just looks better. I keep going in the scale. And then suddenly, you know, the scale just finally gives out. And Nielsen's like, look, the spring is, you know, just, it's done. And you're forced to get the new scales. The new scales. It's kind of like you can't use Windows 7 anymore. You know, I like Windows 7 because it kind of like hides this and hides that. Sooner or later, like it's dead. That's it. So the numbers out now is what the numbers have been. It's just that they've been skewed because there was an old system that took far too long to adapt over. And the reason why it's a big deal is because they could be controversial and say, SmackDown is down 40%. Yet NXT is only down 7%. Well, no, it's down 13%. Well, a year ago, they had Julia and Stephanie Vicaire, and they had this person, and Bron Breakker was still there. Well, maybe that's the reason why it's down. Maybe people kind of miss Bron Breakker, and now they got Josh Briggs. You know, I mean, the roster's different. So, of course, the ratings are going to be different. So, my point is, WWE knows, and TKO knows the bottom line. They know how much money is coming in. They know what the views were. You know, I saw people, and I had fun with it last week. I saw people making a big deal. Oh, look, WWE Evolution got the least amount of views. The least amount of views of the whole year. And I'm like, well, first of all, that doesn't include the United States. And second of all, that pay-per-view came out in July. So some other events that came out in January had 11 months worth of viewership, and that only had half a year. So it's kind of like you got to like look at it like that. And, maybe women's wrestling is not as popular in a different country compared to here. And, I don't think of that. People just go. My point is, when WWE looks at their bottom line and sees, that finances are still extremely strong, and they're still able to go to countries and kind of hide it that way, why would you change? Why would you change? I mean, down the line, you'll see there'll be some turnover, but the only way you're going to see abrupt change like that is if somebody decides they want to retire, somebody does something, morally wrong or criminally wrong, or someone they feel just, they kind of need to change, but they're not going to have any radical changes. For what? For what? There's no urgency, but, if a year or two, you see this steady decline and they see, some, things that are not gelling all that well, and it keeps coming back to the same person or persons, then you might need to have a change. But why? Because people complain? You got to look at the bottom line. I don't know what the stock market is right now. I don't know what TKO stock is. I mean, my guess is it's probably somewhere like around 185. You know what? Could someone go on Google and see what TKO's current stock is? I know it hit like 212. 185 sounds a little bit low. I think people would be like, it's down 20% in 2 weeks. I would say that it's probably like around like 195. Maybe someone could check it really quick. That stock was 110 or 120 when it was sold. Now it's almost double. 205. Thank you very much. 204.91. Thank you, douche. $205 a share. You saw, like WrestleNomics covered this lawsuit recently. Shareholders are suing because they feel that Vince didn't get the best offer and he was scheming with Ari Emanuel, and we have text messages. I turn around. If those people suing WWE right now, I'm sorry for saying this is going to piss somebody off, but if I was a lawyer and those people came into my office and said, listen, we want to hire you. Don Tony, we want to hire you to sue WWE because we feel Vince McMahon schemed to have this deal with TKO, with Endeavor, and we feel that they could have gotten a better offer somewhere else, and we think that they kind of did things they weren't supposed to. I would have turned around and I would have said, okay, tell me what the stock was before the sale. Tell me what the stock is now. And then you're going to show me that the stock was $115 a share and now it's $205 a share. I would look at you and say, get the fuck out of my office. The fucking stock is almost double. What are you talking about? Like, why are you complaining? Now, if some moron says, well, I sold the stock 6 months ago. Well, that's on you, asshole, dopey. If the stock is down and you're like, man, WooCoin. Remember we covered on the history show? WooCoin. Ric Flair came out with a coin not too long ago, WooCoin. Whole bunch of people bought it. And I don't remember what it was, but within a week or two, it went down 95%. Now, if you want to get a lawyer and try to sue and say, listen, you might have a little bit of an argument. But if I go to a lawyer and now WooCoin is worth double what it was when I first bought it, what's the argument here? It's stupid. Just because somebody sues doesn't mean you should cover it. Because you're legitimizing stupidity. I must cover it. Why must you cover it? It's stupid. And I just covered it. That's what happened. So no, Michael, I don't think there'll be a huge turnover. By the way, for everybody, how long have we gone so far? We've gone 90 minutes. We'll go another 30. Don't want to overstay our welcome. Plus, thank God we haven't had we have foot of snow and ice going on right now. I hear my air conditioner is like hell, freezing rain landing on it. And we have like the most stable stream. Go figure. Tomorrow, right after Raw, normal schedule, because of being in Canada, there is no time difference. I will be live right after Raw, DTKCDiscord.com. DTKCDiscord.com. Free. Join me there. We have a lot of stuff to get into. I'm probably not going to work tomorrow. Probably not going to work because I'm not going to go out in 10-degree weather when everything is completely frozen and start trying to fucking shovel and dig ice and everything like that. Probably ain't happening, so I might be sleeping late tomorrow. All right, a few of you asked during the show my thoughts on Iyo Sky hugging Triple H the way she did. I'm sure by now you've all seen the photo. Shame on me for not having the photo ready for this video part, but you guys know what the photo looks like. Here's my take on it. It is not Japanese tradition to hug like that. Okay, I want to make that clear. I actually did some research. I was curious, and believe it or not, in the Japanese culture, you usually will bow and there's usually no touching at all. My take on it is this. Very simply put, I love Vince Russo to death. But when he goes on social media and says, I told my wife before she left, make sure she goes and hugs somebody, like Iyo Sky. I'm like, why? I mean, if you're going to write anything like that at all, turn around and say, I told my wife this morning when she gets home from work, hug me. Hug him like she did Triple H, and make sure you don't have anything on, and neither will I. And then you'll test if Vince Russo still has the strength, if you know what I mean. Like, it's stupid. Why even say that? My take on it is this. Plain and simple, this is my honest view, nothing beating around the bush. The WWE Unreal cameras were everywhere. They have cameras rolling. Iyo Sky knows it. WWE knows it. They have meetings. They have fucking meetings. That we're filming this, we're filming that, we're filming this. When LA Knight is sitting there, you think Triple H, maybe if somebody turns a microwave on and microwaves metal and he happens to be in the same room and somehow it's interfering with his pacemaker and he's like, hey, Sean, LA Knight, Knight, I really think I feel it. Like, I could see him, the fucking cameras are rolling. Of course they're going to be extra dramatic and this and that. They know that. The cameras are rolling. I told you when TKO first bought WWE, they had a meeting backstage and told all the wrestlers, if there's even one fan around, you treat it as if it's real. You treat it as if it's storyline. That's why Drew McIntyre, he stormed out of Survivor Series. He told Busted Open, go fuck yourself, and walked out. Is it a work? Is it a shoot? It's a combination of both. I saw this where he looked uneasy, unhappy. As long as there's one fan around, you treat it as if the cameras are rolling. That's what it is. Iyo Sky was incredibly grateful that she got to have that match at Mania in front of her family. And she is very short. She's very short. No, I think if she would have stood up and grabbed him, I think it would have been around the stomach area. But I think she just jumped up because she had that much emotion and she's short. That's all it is. There was nothing sexual about it. No, I wouldn't have done it. No, I don't think it was appropriate, but I also feel that because the cameras were rolling, it wasn't just walk up to him and give him a hug and thank you. No. She was so emotional, and the emotion was real. The emotion she had was real. She did that. The cameras were rolling. Let me put it this way, my friends. There are so many pictures of Triple H going like this with Iyo after Mania. All right? There's like 3 or 4 different poses. Did we have to see that moment? If it was so inappropriate, Triple H could have said, nah, we can't film that. We can't air that. People will take it the wrong way. Or, better yet, since Triple H and everybody else, WrestleMania, knows the cameras are rolling, while Iyo is hugging Triple H, which went on for about 15 seconds, we can't see Triple H's head. So she's hugging him like this. You know what I would have done within 2 seconds? Iyo, what the fuck are you doing? I'm married. It's on camera. Fucking Unreal. Get off of me. You didn't see it. You didn't even see any of that. Like, I would have immediately, if that's so inappropriate. Look, I could even be a ventriloquist. Look, Iyo, what the fuck are you doing? Get off of me. I'm married. What are you doing? Don't touch me. Don't hug me like that. Like, nothing. The cameras are rolling. Let me show how much I'm appreciative, and let me go over the top. Almost like a dog not seeing their master for 3 years. Dog jumps up, and it's nothing sexual about it. That's all it was. She's very short, and she was very, 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 very emotional and appreciative, and, wanted to hug him that way. And again, Triple H could have simply just said, get down. What are you doing? Cameras, what are you doing? Or in the editing, I don't think we should show that people get the wrong idea. No, they kept it in there. That's it. That's all I have to say. Iyo Sky auditioning to be one of the Godfather's ladies. Did you see when, like, what the fuck? Like, people are like, oh, that's so cute. It's so, it's funny because people find it so cute because the way she says, what the fuck. But when someone else mimics the same thing, oh, you're a racist. You're a racist. Stop making fun of her Japanese accent. Huh? Like, makes no sense. So, all right. How long we got? We got 23 minutes. We still got a little bit of time. Look at some of the feedback. VJ says Triple H wants to be the center of attention so bad. He wants to be liked so bad. In the aspects, he's a lot like Tony Khan. Here's how I look at it. You don't see many people who leave WWE that are upset at Triple H. There's a few, no question about it. But the thing is that Triple H, whether you like it or not, gave some people maybe sometimes too much opportunity. And creatively, there's been some people that were Triple H guys and gals that were given a second chance and did not do all that spectacular with it. I think Triple H overall is very well liked amongst the roster. Like, he is someone approachable. You know what I mean? Like, you don't, how many times have we heard over the years, like, wrestlers saying, like, never spoke to Vince McMahon. Every time I wanted to see Vince McMahon, he was not approachable. Could not go up to, would not talk. Very rare somebody had the opportunity. Triple H seems like one that he's very approachable. I wouldn't put it on an insecure level, but I will say this. And I think it was Dave Meltzer that said this, so I got to give him the credit. He said that this season of Unreal felt like it was produced by Triple H because it sure puts Triple H over, and it kind of feels like this is like, let me put it this way, for the Vince Russos and others who I support, but for those out there that said a year ago Triple H's job is in jeopardy, and then some people said, no, a year from now Triple H will be gone, I'm sure when you get some of the loud noise saying that, I think Triple H, a little bit of reminder to Netflix about the product, and TKO about the company and the wrestlers themselves. Like, I'm irreplaceable. I'm needed. Like, I'm not the problem. Like, yeah, I think this could be a little bit of Triple H kind of like trying to strengthen, all his partners, that he definitely is doing the right person for the job. I said this a year ago when people were saying, Triple H's job is in jeopardy. I said, who do you replace him with? Who do you replace him with? I think the best answer I got from someone is Shawn Michaels. And I'm like, okay, there's no track record that Shawn Michaels could write on that kind of scale. Shawn Michaels has been doing great with NXT, but that's developmental. That's let's throw shit on the wall many times and see if it sticks. Who do you replace him with? Who do you replace him with? Come up with one. I mean, some people said Shane McMahon. And believe it or not, you might see Shane McMahon back a lot sooner than you think. A little birdie told me that, and listen, before anybody says it, yes, I did see that Shane McMahon is on the roster and it's on the website. More than that, there might be a little bit of involvement with Shane McMahon with something with TV, not necessarily like Raw or SmackDown, but there might be something going on. And I've always been a fan of Shane McMahon. Always been a fan. I have no issue with Shane McMahon. To me, of all the McMahons, like Shane, to me is, put it this way, people have said to me over the years, like if you could have a beer with any McMahon, I would choose Shane probably more than Vince McMahon. I would have said Vince years ago because it would have been interesting to get some answers about some things. But I would choose Shane McMahon probably more than any other McMahon. When Shane McMahon first got married, I probably said his wife, with all due respect. I mean, she was a hottie and I was single, but I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. She just got nominated, I think, for an Academy Award, right? I think she just got nominated for an Academy Award, Shane McMahon's wife, for real. Roderick says, in my opinion, what went wrong between Ronda Rousey and WWE? Oh, very easy to explain. Ronda Rousey was the baddest woman in UFC. She was, even though I'm not a fan of women's MMA. Sorry. I don't even like seeing ghetto housewives fighting with each other. I don't like to see women getting busted up in the mouth or busted up in the eyes or anything, unless it's an ex-girlfriend cheating on me, which never happened, but then I wouldn't care all that much. But I'm not into it. But the perception will always be that Ronda Rousey was the baddest bitch in MMA history. It'll always be looked at that way. I know some people say, well, what about that match? What about that fight? Doesn't matter. And with that, she thinks her cred gets damaged if Alexa Bliss beats her, if Liv Morgan kicks her ass. Like, that's the problem with Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey doesn't understand that, if it was a movie and she got killed in a movie, if she got shot, if Jason, did this, it's different. It's not MMA. It's totally different. But when you have simulated fighting and real fighting, and you have, somebody beating Ronda Rousey, punching her and having her tap out, Ronda Rousey's like, nah, man, that hurts my legitimacy and even in the MMA world. I'm not saying that she's wrong or she's right, but that's what it comes down to. That's why, here, you want a bad example, but I think people will understand it. Remember the guest hosts? Remember the Raw guest hosts? What was the thing that we hated the most? And it wasn't the choice of some of the guests, but what was the one thing that we, even back in the day when Kevin and I, even Joey 924, when we used to cover it, the Raw guest hosts, what did we have the biggest problem with? We had the biggest problem with the guest hosts who always had to have the last word in a segment, or always try to one-up whoever they're doing something with. I don't have any examples offhand, but good. I'll give you what I mean by that. Like, you'll have a heel out there, a WWE heel, Jericho or somebody, cutting a promo, and that heel is supposed to, intimidate the babyface guest host. And the babyface guest host will, more times than not, take it personal and throw an extra insult in there. Or might smirk, may not take it seriously. And we always had a problem with that. And that's one of the things. You go back and you watch some of the confrontations with wrestlers and Raw guest hosts, and you will find multiple times where an actor's there to promote a movie, and a heel comes out there, Miz or somebody else, and they're throwing an insult, trying to get a little extra, baby face on, and that person throws an extra insult out there that is just ad-libbed. Look at the balls. And I don't mean balls like this. I'm talking about, remember LeVar Ball? Remember the balls? Remember the balls? The Ball family? The balls. Remember those, the Sons? You think that was all like, yeah, no, I'm going to drop an F-bomb and I'm going to do this. No, they actually took it personal. The fucking Sons is that's a perfect example. And, unfortunately, yes, you're right, Tony Randall in the chat. Love that name. Felix Unger says, Ken Shamrock got it. Absolutely. Ken Shamrock got it. Dan Severn got it. Other people that have ventured over got it. Ronda Rousey. And listen, if you're Ronda Rousey and you have that reputation of being the baddest bitch in MMA history, maybe you would probably act the same way as her. I'm not letting this 5-foot blonde, have me tap out. I'll twist her like a pretzel. It's no shade on Alexa Bliss or anybody else. It's no shade on them whatsoever. But in Ronda Rousey's eyes, no, man, I'm not having that. Not understanding that, the idea is to help bring your opponent up as well. And sometimes, you being the baddest bitch on the planet, somebody getting a little one-up on you helps that person and doesn't hurt you, but she always thought it hurt her. That's her problem. Steve Blackman got it. Not many people didn't get it. We always think of the Montreal screw job. Brett screwed Brett. Brett forgot that this is a business. You give back. Brett forgot that he's an entertainer. Brett thought that his credibility was going to be devastated by losing in Canada to Shawn Michaels. Am I wrong? I mean, I absolutely love Bret Hart. But still, he, thought that it was going to devastate his reputation, his credibility. And, if he would have just lost and left, who knows how things would have changed. My God, I'm glad it happened the way it did, because we had the birth of Mr. McMahon. I'm sure Mr. McMahon would have still come out. But the way that went down, couldn't beat it. Couldn't beat it, man. Somebody says Pat McAfee got it. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to talk a little bit more about what Michael Cole said. Michael Cole did an interview with, what was it? Not Hot 97 here in New York. I think it's, I can't remember which show it is. I'll definitely shout him out tomorrow. But he was asked who his favorite Cole commentator was. Like, who did he love the most? And the funny thing is, I think most of us always thought it was Pat McAfee, because he said not too long ago that Pat McAfee reinvigorated him, and he just put Pat McAfee over. And I do believe that Michael Cole loves doing commentary with Pat McAfee. But when he was asked, Michael Cole, who is his favorite partner commentating of all time, he chose Taz. And I love the answer. I love the fucking answer. Now, we'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow. But I remember those early days with Taz that were not very easy on the ears. I mean, the problem with Taz early on is that in 2000, Taz made his WWF debut and choked out Kurt Angle. Didn't hurt Kurt Angle at all. But we were like, holy shit, this is awesome. Because we never thought Taz would be accepted in the WWF because he was so short. You know, he was short and stocky. I mean, great fucking wrestler. Intimidating, too. Intimidating. But he made his debut in 2000, and we were ecstatic. And I think it was like the within a week or 2 weeks. I remember he won the ECW World Championship because Mike Awesome obviously did the job so he could go to WCW. And then within a week, Taz is taking on Triple H, I think on SmackDown. And Triple H beats him. And the next thing we know, we have the feud with Vince and Paul Heyman, the invasion angle. And I remember where Taz was doing commentary and Paul Heyman was like, look at Taz. Look at Taz. You took, a legitimate badass and he's like a fat commentator now. Now, I know that was scripted, but it made you think like, wow, they really fucked Taz big time. Then we understood a little bit more about the injuries and other things. And then, but the early days of Taz commentating, anybody remember what Kevin and I, even Joey, we would have the biggest problem with Taz? Anybody remember what Taz would do in a match that we would make fun of it? I'll give a hint. Three Stooges. Remember? Anybody remember when we used to say he sounded like Curly from the Three Stooges? Like somebody would do a move in the ring. How many of you remember this? You have Taz and Michael Cole on commentary, and Taz would suddenly go, whoop, 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 whoop. I thought he was like, he's the nude stooge. Like, what the fuck was that? And he would do it a lot. He'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, what are you, a chicken? Like, it was so nerve-wracking, man. But he got better. He got better, man. He got better. And it put a smile on my face to see Michael Cole choose Taz. That's cool. That is very cool. Oh, I'm a big fan of Johnny Rodz, man. Love Johnny Rodz. So privileged to have the opportunity to hang out with him a few times. I've told this story so many times when he was showing up at VPW events, because a lot of his students were on those shows. I went to his gym twice when Timmy Arson, God rest his soul, the ECW zombie, he would work out with Johnny Rodz. And I would drive Zombie to the gym because he had lost his license for a little while. And, Johnny Rodz was awesome. But I got a couple of times to hang out with him at VPW. And the thing I know I brought this up a dozen times over the years, but the one thing that I always remember myself, Johnny Rodz talking about Lincolns and Cadillacs, pimping Lincolns and Cadillacs. Like, we would talk about a whole bunch of things in wrestling, and then we got on the topic of cars. He was a big Lincolns and Cadillacs. Love talking to Johnny Rodz, man. That guy is so cool, and he's still with us, which is beautiful. And he's a Hall of Famer, WWE Hall of Famer. Tristan, my thoughts on his Steve Austin beer truck moment. Vince swimming in the rings, one of the most iconic moments on WWE TV history. Funny thing is, I don't think they rehearsed it. Beer is obviously slippery. If anybody's ever, did anything with beer. In fact, I remember my friend one time had like one of those sliding things in his yard, and they would have the hose and connect it. But one time, like, they poured a bunch of beer down it, and it gave like a little extra slippery to it. I don't remember if it happened with the beer or not, but I remember one of my friends, when he got all the way down to the end, like he hit like the bottom just a little bit and fucking went airborne. That's the best. You do that snowing now. I'm sure people tomorrow. People fucking after the snowstorm, they're probably going to get the cardboard and they're going to try to go snowboarding down a hill and they're going to hit like a fucking rock or they're going to hit the curb and they're going to just go airborne. You're going to hear a lot of people getting hurt tomorrow. Kevin Milwaukee, of all those talents, why does AEW feel the need to have Mullet Mike, Cornball Mike Bailey on every single show? Because their core audience enjoys them. Their core audience enjoys them. They're team player, not controversial, good employees, work great in the ring. I'm not the biggest fan of either. Mike Bailey, I always felt was like a reject from fucking Karate Kid. Like I just always felt he was like an 80s gimmick, just like an extra for Karate Kid movie. I just not a fan, but I acknowledge that there's a lot of people that enjoy his work, that put him over. Listen, when he was in TNA, he wasn't the main guy, but in TNA, people used to put him over too. Nobody really had any issue with him. I mean, he's a good talent. He fits in, and again, this is about, just the vibe in TNA. He hits the right notes with the vibe. So, yeah, look, anybody that doesn't like him, I respect that. I'm not saying that you should like him. I mean, there's people I like that a lot of you don't like, and there's people that I don't like that a lot of people you do like. It's to each his own, All right. I think we're going to wrap this up. Well, no. We still got 400 hanging out. We can keep going a few more minutes. We'll go like 15 more minutes. How's that? We'll go like 15, 20 more minutes. Right now it's 10:02. We'll finish at 10:15. This way, just in case I have to go to work tomorrow. I don't think I have to. But if somebody calls me up insurance-wise, hey, the snow, my roof collapsed. Because that's the thing I'm scared about. Because, that shit's turning to ice. That's a lot of weight on roofs. And if I get a customer that calls me tomorrow and says, listen, my roof collapsed from the fucking ice, I got to go in. Even if I have to Uber my ass in, I got to go in. So. All right. Benjamin was trying to see if Iyo Sky was still with Evil. And she found a story of Iyo and an ex being arrested in Japan after another wrestler planted weed on them. Have I ever heard the story? I don't think I ever heard that story, but I do remember, and someone in the chat's going to remember this. Who was was it Evan Bourne? Who was the wrestler that went to Japan and then there was some type of an issue where they got caught with weed or they got caught with a supplement that they weren't supposed to have? Anybody remember that? So it was only a couple of years ago. Someone is going to remember that story. It was not Iyo Sky's ex. That I know for sure. But it was someone went to overseas. Marvin says Evan Bourne. Holy shit. Are you saying? How do I remember that? I mean, I'm not a fan of Evan Bourne. I don't dislike him, but I'm like, holy shit, it was Evan Bourne. Go figure. I can't remember things I did last week, but somehow I remember Evan Bourne. I remember that. Evan Bourne. That was a similar situation. Listen, I don't think anybody gets planted with weed. Let me put it this way. If I'm going to plant drugs on someone to get them in trouble, why would I plant the item that many people want to see legalized? Let me put it this way, and I probably shouldn't be doing this live on the show because I've showed you this once before, but, before we figured out the problem in my midsection, I literally bought all these muscle relaxers from India. I'm not kidding. I can't show you my shipping label, but I bought all these fucking muscle relaxers from India about 3 months ago. It didn't do nothing. I took one, and I was like, oh, I feel good. But it didn't fix the problem that I had. I could blur my address. Look, this is if I'm going to plan something, here, put this in this suitcase. What are you doing with 160 muscle relaxers? Like, why would you plant weed? Like, I don't think it was planted. I think whoever had it, it's kind of like Terry Reynolds. Remember when Terry Reynolds got arrested in Florida a couple of years ago, and she had a gun in her suitcase, and she's like, I shoot possums in my yard, and I didn't realize that I didn't take it out of the suitcase, and I believed the story, but the first thing I said, that if I'm the DA in Florida, I would have turned around and say, hey Terry, you know, why would you put the gun in a suitcase? Why wouldn't you just put it in a drawer? Like, why would you put it in a suitcase? You're like, why would you think, like, why is it ever put it this way, why is it ever appropriate to put a gun in a suitcase? Like, if you're sleeping at night, you're in bed, and Terry Reynolds hears a burglar, and you hear the window break. What are you going to do? Go in a closet and fucking take out your suitcase? And you're like, well, what's the combination? What's the combination? Oh, where's the key? Where's the key? No, you put it in your fucking drawer. If she don't have no kids in the house, it's not like, oh, my kid would have grabbed it. Like, why would you put it in a suitcase? You know, even if I shot rats in the back of my yard, and I don't mean rats like ugly hoes. I'm talking about like rats, mice. If I shot mice in my yard and I put the gun away, like, I'm going to put it in a suitcase? Like, no, I'm going to put it in a drawer. Was my dog going to take it out? You know, like, I don't know. I don't think it was planted. I felt bad for Liv Morgan. I remember when we covered that. She had that vape with that synthetic stuff. It was synthetic. She wasn't supposed to have it. It got thrown out. That's the right way to go. You know, I remember people talking about how beautiful her mugshot looked. You know, like, we see that once in a while where you get like, you know, a mugshot of someone that looks like their model, and you're like, wow, that's the most beautiful mugshot I've ever saw. And then you see absolute train wrecks out there. So, shout out to WrestleMess. Thank you, my friend, for the $9.99. His dark horse for the Royal Rumble is Logan Paul. You know what? That's an awesome choice. And I got to go back, undelete all the shit I deleted before. I got to see what Logan Paul's odds are for this Royal Rumble. Hang on a second. Let me see. Let me pull this up. Hold on. I got to just grab in my... Oh, there we go. There we go. Logan Paul's odds are, drum roll please. Logan Paul's odds are, as of 5 days ago, why do I not even see him on this list? That makes absolutely no sense. Oh, wait. I spoke too soon. Logan Paul, 20-1. Oh, no. He was a month ago, Logan Paul was 40-1 odds. Now he's 20-1 odds. That is not a bad choice. Listen, I know this is unpopular to say, and I repeat myself, I'm not a fan of Logan Paul. I do not like Logan Paul, personally. But that guy, he's got such an ego about himself. He can't suck. You know what I mean? Like, you want people like that sometimes. You want someone that absolutely cannot look in the mirror, give people a reason to say that they blew it. That's somebody who's going to become world champion. Logan Paul will be WWE champion sooner than later. Don't know when it'll happen, but he says Saudi loves their social media influencers, and a story with CM Punk would be great on the mic, in the ring, and it would be a great night one main event. Logan Paul could then be champ and maybe feud with Bron. Let me tell you something. I wouldn't want Logan Paul to be babyface, but if you want to do something, I just thought of something, and I think this is awesome. I think you all going to love this. I think you really are. I just thought of this now, and if you guys think it's worthy, you know, mention it on social media. Say, hey, I heard on DT's show today a fucking awesome idea. And if you want to You want to pay tribute to Evolution? Because isn't Evolution kind of a sort of a somewhat synonym of Vision? Like Evolution, the progression of tomorrow, Vision tomorrow. You want to do something like that? Have Bron Breakker become world champion. And as the Vision, the night after WrestleMania, are celebrating with Bron Breakker in the ring, they do what they did to Randy Orton. Beat the fuck out of him. And you have Logan Paul challenge Bron Breakker for the World Heavyweight Championship. I actually think that would be beautiful. You could kind of recreate what they did with Randy Orton. The only thing I wouldn't do is this, like with Batista that time. I wouldn't do that. But Logan Paul will be world champion. Logan Paul will be world champion. Whether we like it or not, it's got to happen. And it's kind of like the reverse with Triple H and Chris Jericho. It never happened. Trust me, I think he's gone to Logan Paul and say, it's got to happen. It'll happen. It's going to happen. That's going to be for a future episode of Unreal. Logan Paul becoming full-time, legit full-time. There's got to be an end game with this somewhere. WWE had to have told him, listen, keep doing what you're doing. You will be world champion. You will be world champion. I think that's one of the reasons why Logan Paul has committed to full-time. He wants to be world champion. It's going to happen. It is. I love your pick. I love your pick. I don't know if it should happen this year. Boy, if that could happen next year. Yeah, that could happen next year in fucking Saudi Arabia. WrestleMania, I'm talking about. That could happen. Listen, again, I don't like Logan Paul personally. I think he's a douchebag. Listen, people do grow up. People do grow up. And, do I think Logan Paul has grown up a little bit? Yeah, I do. I think, having a wife and having a kid does set you straight a little bit. Age, you do mature. I think he's better now than what he was years ago. But, he's dedicated. Whether you like him or not, the guy truly gives a shit about how he presents himself in the ring. This is not like a Travis Scott situation. With Travis Scott, I'm not trying to shit on the guy, but if you go back and you watch fucking The Chamber again, he's walking down to the ring like, my music's playing. I got a hardcore title that I never truly won. Do I really need to walk this far? I'm stoned. I don't really want to do this. He's standing in the ring, and Cody's laid out. John Cena kicks him in the nuts, and Travis Scott just walks up to him. Oh, hum, woof, in the ear. Like, no energy. Like Travis Scott, talk about no energy. Seriously, like, I would have fell asleep. You watch that with the volume off. By the time he gets to the ring, you would have fallen asleep. Like Logan Paul's the opposite of that. Yeah, Logan Paul could wrestle, man. There's no taking that away from him. No taking away from him. I did see the chant. He says he's not banned. But you know what? They troll him. I don't think he cares anymore. But they'll always troll him with that. But I love the pick. I love the dark horse pick. It's always fun to bring up dark horses. But, I think when we get, hopefully I'll get the updated odds by tomorrow. And if I get the updated odds by tomorrow, I will give final predictions. But I want to see what the final odds are for Bron Breakker. Because remember, 5 weeks ago, Bron Breakker was the favorite. Then they announced the January 5th match against CM Punk, and Bron Breakker's odds went down. And Roman Reigns became the favorite. Meanwhile, the whole time, who were you and I talking about? Gunther. We thought Gunther was going to challenge Cody Rhodes. Then Cody lost the title to Drew McIntyre. And like, okay, Gunther, CM Punk, they tore it up a year ago on that holiday tour. They tore it up again, early, when CM Punk, when Seth Rollins dropped the crutches, we know what happened. Gunther and CM Punk can work. So now Gunther suddenly is now number 2, and he might end up being the favorite by the next day or two. So, listen, I think who's the other guy? Not iShow Speed. Who's that other guy, the social media influencer that got like 1 million viewers on TikTok or something? Oh my God, I don't follow them, so I always forget his name. Who's the guy? And he hangs out with iShow Speed once in a while. Kai Cenat. How did I remember that? Kai Cenat. I think Kai Cenat might be in the Royal Rumble this year. Or iShow Speed is in the Royal Rumble and he becomes the new Pete Rose. I wonder if iShow Speed becomes the new Pete Rose. Remember Pete Rose was trying to, get one up like Kane kept fucking with him? I think we might have something where Bron Breakker gets iShow Speed again. So, Kai Cenat, that's the guy. As soon as I saw that record, I'm like, WWE's got to be on the phone with him. Yeah, we'll put you in the Royal Rumble. So, all right. Let's start bringing this home. We'll take 3 more questions and get out of here. Kevin Walker with a comment. That'll be one of them. Trick Williams' theme song is a banger. Gives him the real aura. Absolutely agree. He'll make a good babyface one day. Sort of in the mold of LA Knight or The Rock. Yeah. Trick Williams, I said this for about 2 years now. There was a point that we all thought Carmelo Hayes was going to be the bigger star. Trick Williams, second. This is before they split. For the last 2 years, nothing against Carmelo Hayes, but for the last 2 years, I said, no. Something about Trick Williams that puts him on a different scale. It's not just height. It's not just build or the theme music or even the catchphrase. There's something about Trick Williams. There's an aura about Trick Williams. That guy is going to be in the top 5 of WWE, the food chain, in short order. He will skyrocket in that company as long as he doesn't get injured or fuck up. Trick Williams is that guy. He is him with all the... Not saying Carmelo Hayes won't go far, but Trick Williams, yeah, he is him. They know they got something big. Obafemi, they know they got something big. Bron Breakker, you're starting to see kind of like 5 years from now who could be a good center of attention. I mean, there's going to be others as well, but those are 3 very nice pieces to have. And notice I didn't even mention Austin Theory because Austin Theory, I think it's a little too soon. It's a little too soon to try to figure that one out. So, yeah, comparisons to Booker T, they do have similar physiques. And, he does have a few moves that remind you of Booker T, no question. But he's got that charisma and there's an aura about him. And there's also crossover. Trick Williams has appeared on a lot of sports shows. He does have a sports background. There is a lot of crossover with Trick Williams. And when you have that crossover, it damn helps. It helps big time. Do I think Trick Williams will ever be a mega star? Way too early to tell. I don't know if we will get a mega star in the next 5-10 years. If you would have told me 10 years ago Roman Reigns would have gotten as big as he did, I would have said you're crazy. God rest Kev's soul. God bless him. He saw it and knew that guy was going to be a megastar. And, he just stuck with it. He was right. But outside of like Cena, Rollins is a megastar, no question. But, who's going to be on that caliber of some of those names? It's going to be a while before we get that again. Swabishon says the last time CM Punk was on a WWE Kane cover was WWE 13. I do remember that when he had his pose too. And it featured the Attitude Era. And he's going to be on the cover of 2K26. And yes, they do have the Attitude Era. Can I say something about that cover? I don't know if you guys saw it yet. I'll probably put it as part of the synopsis picture for tomorrow. I have always said China belongs in the WWE Hall of Fame as an individual. I became friendly with some of her family. If some of you remember when she passed, I had, you go back, you list those episodes, I had members of her family giving us exclusives about that fucking dirtbag. What was it? I think his name was Anthony too, right? The Enabler. And I had to be very careful how I said it because, but he was throwing things away that the family was asking for. I mean, we supported China big time. Joni Law, we supported. I mean, it was sad to see what happened. And I say that because of this. I don't think she should have been on the cover of this video game. It looks forced. You look at the Attitude Era, there's no question that China was a nice part of it. But when I saw that game cover and they put her on there, it almost felt like, all right, you happy? We finally put her on a feature. Like, I just didn't, it felt forced, just being honest. There's a lot of other names that I would have put on there before China. It just felt forced, especially when you look at Raw, WWE, not even Raw, but WWE versus WCW. I don't know. I saw it and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like being politically correct here with something. It's like somebody had a guilty conscience there. Somebody had a guilty conscience and said, yeah, we're putting China on the cover. She definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It's a tragedy what happened to her. I mean, I understand Vince back then, he didn't want people to Google her and see her not only drug history, but her sexcapades and, it's a few reasons why. I mean, I get it. But what Vince never understood is WWE should not be the Google police. Like if a younger fan out there sees China in Hall of Fame and says, Mommy, who's China? And you Google it and the little kid sees that, don't blame WWE. Blame the mother for not having age restriction shit on their computer. I never liked how somebody would not be put in because of, a past that doesn't. Now, listen, Benoit is a different story. You kill someone, you don't go in, period. You do some atrocities, awful stuff. China had a disease. She had an illness. She had an addiction. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who lose family members to addiction. That was a tragedy. And she should have been put in the Hall of Fame many, many, many years ago. All right, one more. Who gets it? By the way, we're going to bring back the mailbag a little bit tomorrow. I do have some mailbag stuff out there. Edward and a bunch of you that sent some questions in. We'll do it on Monday. Because I know everybody, tunes into the Monday show. Not everybody tunes in on Sundays, but yeah, we'll do some mailbag tomorrow. Remember, if you want to send a question for the mailbag, DonTony@DonTony.com. Just keep the question a little brief so we could answer, as many as we could. I'm still waiting to hear back from Joey924. I emailed him last week. So shortly after the Royal Rumble, I hope to be doing an episode with him, and we'll definitely give everybody some info once I speak to him. But Ultra, S21 Ultra, do I think some wrestlers' legacy is greater than it should be because of their premature death? Well, Eddie Guerrero, his legacy is on point. Brody Lee, Luke Harper, is right on point. I don't see anybody looking back and saying, oh, if Brody Lee didn't die, he would have been WWE champion. I think he would have been AEW champion, world champion. I think for some recent deaths, it's way too early. But I'll say this, and I know I've brought this up before, and I don't want to use Owen Hart as an example, but I'll use Brian Pillman as an example. Brian Pillman is in my top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. I was a mega fan of Brian Pillman. That motherfucker was awesome. The loose cannon, I dropped bucks on the 1-900-909 pill. Shh, you might hear something you're not supposed to. Brian Pillman pimped out a 900 hotline in 1996, I think it was. And I fucking spent loads of money calling that hotline just to hear him. Pillman was awesome. It's unfair, but sometimes somebody will say to me, if I could reverse one wrestler's death from yesteryear, who would it be? And I can't give an answer because I got close friends who passed. I don't need to bring them up, male and female. But, if you said to me I could prevent 5, Pillman would probably be in there. But I do notice as the years go by, I see more and more people saying, oh, if Owen Hart didn't die, he would have been WWF champion, world champion. I seriously doubt that. Go back and look at that time frame. He was not anywhere remotely near the world championship. I think the closest he ever got is when he feuded with Brett. And even at that time, nobody thought Owen Hart would be world champion. People also say that about Brian Pillman. Oh, if Brian Pillman didn't have the Hummer accident, he would have been world champion. Where? XWF? Maybe. TNA? Maybe. WWE? How? Where? Tell me, there was nobody at that time saying that. Not even the wrestling magazines were saying that. In death, as years go by, the aura of some people go up. And a lot of the people that say that weren't wrestling fans at the time. They just see, and I totally accept it. These people see a legacy, how beloved they were, how talented they were. And you say to yourself, how could he not be world champion? So when I hear younger fans say that about Owen or Pillman or anybody else, I say to myself, you know what? If they lived through that era on a week-to-week basis, they would never be saying that. But when you look back on it, you say to yourself, how could he not? How could any of them not be world champion? Look how awesome they were. I get it. But unfortunately, when you go back to the 80s, there were people that absolutely should have been World Wrestling Federation heavyweight champion. But Hogan had a stranglehold. Then you had Savage. Then you had Warrior. And by that time, you got fucking Iran and the shit going on, Iraq. And then, let's slaughter evil Iraq. And then you got this, that. And the next thing, oh my God, 700-pound Yokozuna. And then, before you know it, you kind of got to go in a different direction. It's like LA Knight. I'll leave you all with this. It's like LA Knight. I am a huge fan of LA Knight. That's why I went out of my way on the History Show last year, that when we found some good news about LA Knight, even outside of wrestling, we covered it. I played that speech when he got the key to the city. And a lot of people last week don't even know. A lot of people didn't cover it. 2 years, almost to the day, where he got the key to the city for his hometown, he gave $20,000 around the holidays for the town to help them with food banks and this and that. And very few people covered it. I am a big fan of LA Knight. In front of the camera, behind the camera. My God, I don't think I have any handy, but who else would have a Max Dupree, autograph cards and photos? Do I have a Max Dupree on my desk? I might not. No, I don't. I do have an LA Knight one here. But I have Max Dupree somewhere. I definitely have Max Dupree, but here's my point. I don't see LA Knight becoming WWE World Champion. I think LA Knight came in 2 or 3 years too soon. I think if LA Knight would have just hit WWE now, I think a year, 2 years from now, he could be world champion. I just don't feel it. I don't see the scenario where LA Knight becomes world champion. Doesn't mean he'll never get it. He might get a cup of coffee with it, but I just feel LA Knight came in when the Bloodline and Roman Reigns was at their peak, and they ran through feuds way too early. And now it's like, what do? He's going to come back at the Royal Rumble. And what's he going to do? He's going to feud with an MFT. Like, really, what does he do? So I think LA Knight, a couple of years too soon. And that's not his fault. It's not WWE's fault. But he's a perfect example of someone. Now, he's still alive, but that's someone who people even now are really elevating their worth. And he's great as a personality. He's a great wrestler. He's reliable. He is, a good hand, when needed. He could main event any house show if needed. But at the end of the day, I just don't see the path. So, all right, my friends. I'm starting to lose my voice. We're almost at 2.5 hours. I want to thank you all, as always, for taking your time, whether you're live or on the archive. I appreciate it more than you know. Just keep spreading the word. Keep spreading the Donzilla Army, the Castle Comrades, the Castle Crusaders, the DTKC family. We are united as one. We will keep banging it out. We will keep dropping knowledge and common sense. No hate or clickbait here. We will criticize when deserving. We will praise when deserving. But we will always tell it straight up. Mean what you say what you mean. Don't want to be first, want to be right. That is basically what we do here. And may not be the most popular format, but it never gets old. I get old. This is my 29th year doing this. 29 years. And hey, hopefully I'll stick around for another 29. How old would that make me? That would make me 85. Just think about that. If I stick around another 29 years, I'll be 85 years old. Ain't happening. But doesn't mean we can't fucking blow this shit up in 2026. We're definitely working on another show. I've had numerous people try to convince me to do a late night Friday night show, especially for our international friends out there for time zone reasons. Don't want to do SmackDown reviews. Doesn't mean we can't comment about SmackDown, but, people have been pushing me. And Friday night, late night might actually be a good possibility because I could sleep late on Saturdays. Saturday is the only day. Sunday's a little bit. Saturdays is the only day that I usually sleep late. So I'm usually up till 2, 3 in the morning anyway. So we might be doing that sooner than later. We might be bringing back the phone lines as well. And somebody even gave me a funny idea. I mentioned it on Patreon Thursday, that we take calls late night on Fridays here on YouTube and do something like if somebody sends in like X amount of dollars for like a super chat or something, that this person said like to go orgy mode. And basically what it is you open the phone lines for like 7 people and just all connect them at the same time. And for like 10 minutes, just have like a chat line, like what we used to do in the 80s and the early 90s, the chat lines, the party lines. You call up and it'd be like a whole bunch of people talking at the same time. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's, it could be an absolute train wreck or it could be hilarious shit. I don't know. Just people are throwing, let me put it this way. The fact that so many people are giving me ideas, good and bad, is awesome. is awesome because it lets me, have some brainstorm ideas. So we're working on a few things. We don't want to waste this year. We want this year to be one of the biggest ones we've ever had. And obviously, that depends on all of you. So as I leave you all, Juice Giorgio, thank you for the $4.99. He became a fan of wrestling in 1992. And the product was what then, if he thought the product was then what it is now, he would have never been interested. I think a lot of that has to do with no internet. I became a fan in 79. First 2-3 years, very, very light as far as watching wrestling. It wasn't something that I watched every single week. But when it got to 82 is when I started watching Wrestling Weekly. 83 was the first year that I went live in person. And, obviously, and the footage is there. When I got to go to the Garden, because I was 15, and my parents let me go to the Garden with my friends, and we went to I think we went 6 or 7 different shows at that time, and the second show we ever went to was when Hogan beat the Sheik for the championship. And you actually see me on camera, and you see my friend Vinny on my shoulders. Never forget that. And for about 10 years, I had the Daily News clipping in my wallet of that night. And every so often, it would get crinkly, and then ultimately it would just rip apart. And I could reprint it on newspapers.com right now if I wanted to, but I would always be reminded, not just the wrestling, but hanging out with my grandmother, hanging out with my friends. Early on, when my mom yelled at my grandmother for letting me watch wrestling, that's when I knew I had to watch it more. Wrestling was so much different back then. You had magazines and you had your friends. You didn't have anybody else. You had some hotlines, but we were too young to call any 976 numbers. But once you got around the late 80s, then you started to hear about Coach Kirk's hotline, who ended up being a pedophile. Go look it up. Then you started to, hear about, other products out there. We got to see some international Lucha Libre, Channel 41, Channel 47 here in New York. We got AWA on ESPN. We had a little bit of WCW, NWA, just to name a few. But, wrestling was so much more regional at the time. Even when Vince made WWF global, we still didn't have internet. The first time I went on the internet might have been like 1992 or 3. And even at that time, it was just like party line, like chats, just chats. I remember connecting to this girl's computer and it was just text. There was no browsers. There was no America Online. And then once that obviously launched, things changed. But up until that time, you only had wrestling magazines and your inner circle. You didn't know what people felt on the West Coast. You would see pen pals in the magazines and how the journalists wanted you to see wrestling. We learned years later that a lot of the stories in the magazines were fake. A lot of the interviews didn't exist. Bill Apter fucking made us laugh our ass off years ago. Kev used to tell the story. We used to talk about these iconic interviews in the magazines, and Bill Apter would be like, nah, that's not true. Oh, we remember this in the magazine. Yeah, remember you? Nah, that didn't happen. And we were like, holy shit, they worked even the fans, but they dictated how we wanted to see it. So 92, 93 is where wrestling was right at the cusp of, becoming smarter. Wrestling fans were smart in 92, 93. You go back to Slamboree. You see the smart fans and the chanting ECW chants when Tully Blanchard fought Terry Funk in WCW. And, early 90s, you had smart fans. Meltzer was doing his newsletter. I was too young to subscribe when he first was doing it. I ended up subscribing years later. But the thing is, once you got to 93, 94, that's when it branched out. And that's when you started to see feedback from all areas of the globe. And then you would chat with people online. You would chat with people on message boards. You would see this and see this. Then you see a different world of wrestling. And then obviously Monday Night Wars changed a lot of it. Attitude Era, reflection of society at that time. Girls Gone Wild, MMA's birth, Jerry Springer, Clinton getting a blowjob in the White House. You have all this shit going on, going against your boss. You got a lot of shit. So, once wrestling got to that level, and then Austin, the rest is history. I'm not here to do a history lesson, but you get the vibe. But all right, everybody, much love. Tomorrow night, right after Raw, join me, DTKCDiscord.com. I'll be live, and then we're back to the same routine this week. Wednesday, for Wednesday Night Dynamite. Some people have asked me if those are going to go live soon. Not yet. Still finding the groove. Then we have Patreon on Thursday. History show late night Friday, early Saturday morning. Depends. And Juice sends another 5-spot, says he would get his parents to rent WWF tapes from 92, would catch up from the mid-90s. It sucked, but he says keep it up. I remember the Coliseum home videos. We rented them as well. The one tape that I remember more than anything was Body Slams, Biceps, and something. I can't remember the name. Maybe somebody could Google it very quickly. The first wrestling video that my mom ever let me rent out was a WWF Coliseum home video, which I think came out in the late 80s or 90s. It was bloopers, body slams, bloopers, biceps, and body slams. I think that's what it was. Someone could double check it for me on Google. That would be great. I think it's bloopers, biceps, body slams. Let's see if I'm right. I'm still blown away that we got Evan Bourne right earlier. If Evan Bourne happens to see this, he's like, oh my God, they didn't forget about me. So someone's checking it right now. Let's see what the name was, but we used to rent them as well. They would always have that Olympic type intro. If anybody remembers, yeah, see, Deuce says I was correct. Juice, see, you can't make this up. This is live, and you're having me go back 40 years being a wrestling fan, remembering this stuff. That's how much it influenced us. I never forgot the name of that title. Biceps, bloopers, biceps, body slams. And I remember there's a chair, I think, on the cover, and one of the Samoans, Alpha, might be getting hit with a wooden chair. Something like that. But no, Juice, no apologies. He's watching the playoffs. I know we're setting up the Super Bowl. I know the Patriots are in. Who else is in? Who are the Patriots facing in the Super Bowl? Not used to the Patriots without Tom Brady. But do we know who the teams are as of yet? The Seahawks. You know what? I actually had Instacart delivered to me yesterday, a couple of groceries. And as the guy was leaving, he's like, who do you have in the Super Bowl? I had no idea who was in. So I'm like, who do you got? He says, I got the Seahawks. I'm like, all right, I'll go with that. He's like, you don't watch football, right? I'm like, the Giants suck. The Jets suck. I said, I'm not really into it. I find myself rewatching the 86 Giants, which is epic. But Seahawks and the Patriots. If I gave you a prediction now, it would be just a guess. So I'm not going to give one. But I'll do a little research. I'll give a prediction this week. Maybe because of my natural hatred for the Patriots, I'll go with the Seahawks by 17. I'll go with the Seahawks by 17. But Matt, now watch that happens. We get weird shit happen like that sometimes. Bloopers, biceps, and body slams. I still remember that cover, and that was epic, man. Let me tell you something. One of the highlights of renting videos at that time was renting wrestling videos. I always loved that intro that had that serious, like real intense music, and you'd see it feel like they would show like Caesar in the Olympic days, and then it would finish with Hulkamania. I still remember that. It would get to the peak of that music, and you see Hogan winning the championship. Hello, everyone. I'm Vince McMahon, and blah, 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 blah. He didn't host all of them, but those were a nice part of our childhood. Then I'll leave everybody with this. The biggest mistake I ever did with renting a video. My mom let me get a video card for myself because I rented wrestling videos. And this was like late 80s wrestling videos. And she allowed me to get my own card. So I got a card and I was able to go to the store myself. It was called the Video Connection. And one time, I think I was 15 or 16, one time I rented out an X-rated movie. And this is the true story. If you're under 18, do not do this. The name of the movie was called Loose Ends. I just grabbed whatever video I could because I was so embarrassed, but I rented it. They let me rent it. I took it home and I watched the movie, and then my mom came home. And I was like, oh shit, I took the video out of the VCR and I put it under my dresser. And I forgot. I forgot about it. And like, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks later, I come home from school and my mom says, I got a phone call today from the video store. And I was like, so? And she's like, did you rent a movie called Loose Ends? Now, just imagine your mother saying that to you and you're 15, 16 with a straight face. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Meanwhile, the fucking video was under my dresser. I never returned the video. I never returned it. I don't know whatever happened to the video, but that is a true story. That is the name of the movie, and I will never ever watch it again because it just brings back bad memories. So, Marco Mattacoli with a $4.99. Thank you. He says, DTY, and by the way, we are wrapping it up now, but I can't leave anybody hanging like that, and I appreciate it. Why isn't Livewire episodes on the network? As a teen on Saturday morning, he would always watch Livewire, 97, 98. I don't know if it's because of Bruce from Connecticut, and I'm not saying that Paul Heyman is the reason. My point is, I think the way it was portrayed, I think, the randomness of the questions, I think, a lot of what happened on Livewire was awesome stuff. You look at Bite This. Anybody remember WWE Bite This? Epic. Until Matt Hardy called in and confronted Lita, that's when you knew, okay, that's it. We're done with this. I think it's just a combination of the format and, some of the people that were involved at the time. I don't, plus you know what I think it is too? Those shows are not very memorable. And I'm not throwing shade on it. I loved that shit. I was talking about this on Patreon the other day. Shotgun Saturday Night, Sunday Night Heat, Live Wire. I meine, some of these, they're all awesome. But in this day and age where everything is digital, like you put Live Wire on YouTube, it ain't getting no views. Like, I just feel that it's not a priority to them. I would have put Shotgun Saturday Night on years ago. Throw it on YouTube. They're not the greatest stuff, but there's moments that people will be like, wow, like it's kind of like amazing to go back at that time. And you understand, I still remember the escalator and I remember the shit like that. It's just not a priority for them. It's just not anything that's high on their list. I wish they would just bang everything out. Just put it out there. Even if you get $10. $10 is better than no dollars. That's how I look at it. Juice says AB from the Seahawks was a top pick by the Jets. I'm going to check it out. I mean, listen, I'm not not a football fan. It's just it's very depressing to see what's going on with the Giants. And you even look at the Jets. Oh my God. It's like New York and football. Come on, man. I swear on a stack of Bibles, I have watched more 1986 Giants games the last month than I've watched regular football for the last 5 years. I've watched games repeatedly. If you want to see an epic football game, there's two from the 86 Giants. Go watch the NFC Championship game. The Giants beat the 49ers 49-3. And Lawrence Taylor was a maniac in that game, and they fucking knocked out Joe Montana right before halftime. And I think it was, oh God, who was it? Oh shit. I can't remember who fucking nailed him. It wasn't Jim Burt, but Gary Reasons, I think it was, fucking nailed him. And that's it. He was out for the whole game. They won 49-3. Or watch the Monday Night Football game where the Giants beat the Redskins, and the game was going on at the same time the Mets won the World Series. And it's fucking hilarious because even they're in Giant Stadium, and even Phil Simms is trying to get the fans to be quiet, and they're chanting, "Let's go Mets." And you would hear the crowds erupt because, I'm a gigantic Mets fan. And, I have so many games from the 86. I have 130 games on video from the 86 season. And I remember when they got to 8-5 and Strawberry had his home run and Ray Knight had his home run, and you hear this crowd go nuts. And Lawrence Taylor, there's a shot of him the minute the Mets won the World Series. Al Michaels, you hear him say, and the Mets won the World Series. And the crowd goes nuts. This is a football game now. And they put the camera on Lawrence Taylor. And you see Lawrence Taylor just nonchalantly look at the scoreboard and then look down, and he had this look like these motherfucking Mets. Because it was so loud at Giant Stadium that even the hometown couldn't hear. But it's an epic, fun game to watch. If you're just a football fan and want to watch old school stuff, I think the Giants 49ers game you'll enjoy even more, because that is total domination. That is legitimately if you believe the stories about Batista and John Morrison and Molina, the Giants are Batista, the 49ers are John Morrison. No. Batista is the Giants. John Morrison is Montana, and the 49ers is Morrison. Because they're just taking it and taking it. Batista takes out Molina, and fucking Morrison just has to deal with it for the whole fucking game. That's the best way I could put it. That is a killing. And Juice says, in closing, he's a diehard Giants fan, and the footage is awesome, and he roots for both teams. Yeah, I don't understand why the Giants and the Jets are this bad. I mean, you see spurts of a bright future, but then next thing you know, horrible losses. But I've watched highlights of the lowlights of 2025's football season, because there's a lot of YouTube channels that show up on my feed, and some of the losses are fucking awful. But to see some of the things that went down with the Giants and the Jets is just depressing. So I can't watch it. I just can't get into it. If there's not a player on a different team, because back in the day, even though I was a Giants fan, I was a big fan of Jim McMahon. Big fan of Jim McMahon. So, I rooted for Jim McMahon. When I was, in baseball, you're fans of other players and other teams. So even if the Mets or the Yankees weren't in it in the World Series, if a team was in it and I was a fan of some of the players, I would root for that team. This year, I can't think of anybody from the Patriots or the Seahawks that I would root for. But All right, everybody. Much love. Thank you for a fun night tonight. We'll be back, like I said, tomorrow night, right after Raw. Go to dtkcdiscord.com. We literally start 60 seconds after Raw ends. So we'll have a blast tomorrow night. We'll definitely get into the news that we have to cover. We'll piggyback some of the stuff we said tonight. I'll see what I find out about Royal Rumble. And if we do get the updated odds, we'll do some final predictions tomorrow. But don't expect any more matches to be added. You'll get new names for the Royal Rumble. You know, people are saying AJ Lee. It doesn't change the outcome, in my honest opinion. You'll see some eliminations to set up WrestleMania, obviously. But be well, everybody. I catch you on the next one. Have a good one.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.
I never thought it'd be like this. I never thought that one day my world would come crashing down around me. And you've got to understand. This is my life. This is what I built. Nobody helped me. I did it all on my own. And now someone's gonna take it away from me?
Wait for it.
Okay. Get a hold of yourself. God is just too damn bad. I know this is not logical. I know this is not normal.
Wait for it.
But it's something that has to be done. You see, when you care like I care, if you care that much, you'll do it. It's got to be done. And you're not going to talk me out of it. No. No, you're not. Oh, I'm starting to feel it now. Oh, yeah. It's starting to feel good.
Wait for it.
I'm going to kill what I created. I'm gonna kill it. I'm I'm gonna kill my creation. I'm going to inject with a lethal dose of poison. If anybody's gonna kill my creation, I'm gonna do it. Me and K.
Kind of amazing if that was 2025.